I'm saying bye to all the lies and all the times you cried, saying that I wasn't right, yet I was right by your side. You manipulator, playing games, your friends commentators, and I don't know what you say about our private conversations, but it's got them hating. Thanks to all the rumors you be claiming. It's cool, I'm done with you, so they can throw you a celebration. You gon' hate it when you see me with somebody living better. I'm trying to tell you that me just doing me gon' have you jealous.
So I'll take 2 cards. Okay, so thank you. All right. Okay. 2 cards. Yeah, okay. I will see your 5 billion rand, and I'll raise you $1 billion. What do you think? Oh, you raised me. Okay. I'll match your raise with 2 billion rand more, and I'll call. What do you have? A full house. That's a good hand. But I have the trump card. Boom! Shakalaka. Let me play my trump card. Oh my goodness. Play chicken with Donald Trump, ANC, and see what happens. See what happens. Wow, my goodness, ladies and gentlemen. Events unfolding in the past, 7 hours now. It's been 7 hours since this news broke, and I did a 3.5 hour live stream, and we talked about this earlier, the impact of it. Then I was a guest on Gareth Cliff's show on the Real Network, and now I'm back here because people are waking up. So let me play my trump card real quick and see how you do. Raise you. All right. Play games. Fuck around and find out, South Africa's ANC. You fuck around and find out the hard way. So for those of you who missed it, I was playing poker with my friend, the Jackass Penguin. You know him. He's from Boulders. There you go. Got a little tag on there. Here's my friend, the Jackass Penguin. You know, they like to call him the African Penguins, but he's Jackass. Anyway, my friend, the Jackass Penguin there. Nice little pudgy guy. You know, these guys are smelly. Anyway, so the Penguin and I were playing poker, and he called my bluff, and I played my trump card. So much for that. You know, having a good time here this night, enjoying a little bit of, this is a local Pennsylvania crisp manufacturer called Utz Southern Sweet Heat Barbecue. These are quite tasty. I don't know what the recipe is for these crisp, or chips as we call them in America. But, that's not even a real chip. That's just like a fragment of a chip. You get one of the big ones out there. There you go. There's a chip. Quite tasty. Thanks for joining us. 98 people currently here. Be sure to hit that like button, folks.
That was easy.
The Penguin endorses the like button. Feel free to hit the like button. Anyway, welcome back. So for those of you who don't know, wow, if you're just waking up in South Africa, bad news befell South Africa last night, courtesy of the ANC's stupid expropriation without compensation law, which will be used, as I said. No one's highlighting this. Well, Rob Hersoff and I discussed it, but I've heard no one else highlighting it. And Neil DeMere and I, but I've been talking about this before anybody. This is a political tool used to cow opposition. That's what expropriation will be. That's how it'll be used. Bernard says, say goodbye to race laws in EWC. If they don't watch this country turn 5 times worse than Zimbabwe. Alan Haywood, good morning to you. So who's in the chat here? And I'm going to get to some of the stuff. Tony Nage is in here from California, from Alberta. South Africa needs prayers. Yep, no doubt about that. And Charles Van Altson, the voice of reason. Shawnee Grows in from Minnesota. Wait a minute, we're live again. We are live again. Arc Precision is back. Diana Humpel. Welcome, Diane. Charles Van Altson. Bird meat. Hey, when is this bird meat? What do you mean bird meat? Shh. Don't listen to him. Bird meat. Shh, dude, my penguin's here. My penguin's here. My Jackass Penguin. Don't talk about bird meat. These are birds. They're smelly birds, but they're birds. John Greenlee says, good morning to you. Alan Coates, so welcome. And ANC's at long last played their trump card to regain lost votes and black support. Oh, there's a trump card. It's for their land promise. I wonder how this trump card is now working out for them. Trudeau is holding Parliament hostage. He won't recall the politicians because he's a dictator. Will suffer more taxes now. Well, we'll see what happens. You're right. Wild Bear Prepper's back. It's been a while. How you doing there? Vermeulen Jean-Jacques, good morning to you, Vermeulen. Yappy's back. Good to see you again there, Yappy. And Rion is laughing. I guess it was about the cards. Mark Vermeulen, thank you for subscribing. Bye, Donkey. And then Alan Haywood is here. Bazooka Tube, I'm in Joburg. Best news to wake up to. Thanks, Chris, for carrying and your humor. You're welcome, Bazooka. I thought that was pretty funny. I mean, playing poker with my penguin. Now, for you with the dirty minds, don't twist that into something it's not. I'm just saying, okay? My penguin. Tunes Bota says, Stone Age escapees here in South Africa. Stephen von Vijk says, after your video this morning, I've already emailed opposition parties about Section 8. There you go. Thank you. Please do that. I mean, look, I have a chance to affect change here with your help for the betterment of South Africans, to save your country. I tried in 2021 by encouraging people. My approach was to get people to go vote in municipal elections, to get different parties in charge of municipalities. People didn't listen. Only 31% showed up. Maybe we can get it to happen here. Tanya De Beer's back. Well, Tanya. Keith Alderson is in. Welcome to you. And Grant Bernardo. Arrogance is no friend of wisdom or goodwill. Rainbow Nation in name only. Yep. That's for sure. Definitely Rainbow Nation name only. Tyler Duggan is back. Welcome to you. And Tony says, yeah, he's quite tired, but he'll keep my eyes open. Well, Tony, come on. 10:30 at night? What are you, 1,000 years old? It's 12:40 here. I haven't slept in days, courtesy of Donald Trump and now Cyril Ramaphosa. Donald Trump got it started the weekend of the 20th. And Cyril's kept me going since the 23rd. But to be fair, the current surge and all that's going on all started with Nobbs and Kesey. Remember Nobbs and Kesey on a FlySAF Air flight? Remember that? Nobbs and Kesey. I'm an ANC, bitch. That's what got us really started there. Make South Africa great again. That was my WhatsApp group for one of my tours. Make South Africa great again. I always have a theme for them. Walty says, make South Africa great again. Welcome you. Johannes Badenhorst, welcome back. Who else got there? Tauroko 00 Railways, welcome to you. Stuart Creevy. Stuart here in the UK, it had to happen. Well, it was bound to happen eventually. This is what happens. The left pushed Donald Trump too far. I'm talking about the left in America. They pushed him too far. Outrageous, ridiculous, fraudulent, bogus, non-existent criminal acts with bogus criminal charges and criminal prosecutions for a host of things. The attempted assassination on him twice. Donald Trump fears no one. Yea, though I walk through the valley of death. Trump has walked through the valley of death through liberals and the Biden regime. We've all survived it, but not nearly in the pain that Trump went through. And we're here. We took a licking and we keep on ticking. Somebody said nothing will change. Elizabeth from South Africa. Hey there, Elizabeth. And you're in Pretoria. Pretoria in the Highveld. Love Pretoria, one of my favorite places. Midrand. I like Midrand. Not bad. Midrand's not bad. Johannes says nothing will change. ANC will just make it harder for us. It was really awesome seeing Trump's tweet this morning when I woke up. I really feel like South Africa needs to use his bit of press to highlight the issues in terrorist ANC. Francois Olafia says, thank you for your support. You're very welcome. It's my pleasure. Mit plaisir. Miss the Utz chips. Their Carolina barbecue flavor is my favorite. Drunken Yoda, that's why are you missing them? You can't get them down there anymore? Utz is made right down the road from me. Right down, I mean, literally like 45 minutes from my house. 45 minutes away. There's a lot of Chris brands in Pennsylvania. Oh, hot as hell, yeah. Yappy Down Tuma. That's another Yappy. Welcome, Yappy. Lorraine Cleveland says, Soros still knocking around with his NGOs. Could be. Tony says, I cheated. I had a nap. Why? I could have lied about it. I told you the truth. I had a nap. Well, it wasn't really a nap. I fell asleep watching the Majorca Files. That's a show with a British actress and a German. He's actually an Austrian actor playing a German from Munich. They wind up being cops in Majorca. It's entertaining, but I'd seen the first episode and I drifted off when it was on. I woke back up a second episode, didn't keep my attention. I drifted off for a little bit. So I napped, but like 15 minutes in each episode. So anyway, Emil Therrick's back. All right, good to see you there. Bernard says, nice surprise for me. Rand 19 to the dollar. Watched by the end of the week. Called this weeks ago. Yep. Cyril will hit me with 100% export tax on that. I didn't know that. Anyway, folks, so let's get to what it was. I'll cover this. Some people, Market Files is great, lighthearted. It is. Charles, I enjoy it. It's really good stuff. It's the thing about shows like that is it all comes down to the chemistry. She's an attractive lady. She's very fit. And he's a good looking dude, although he's a little pudgy and wears weird shoes. Very typical Central European, but good looking dude. But the show comes down, the writing isn't great. I mean, it's kind of lame, but the chemistry between the two actors, it's really good. Those two have a good chemistry. Their boss, I'm not impressed by that, but the Mallorca Files, very entertaining. Mallorca Files. Trump said in his last term, just another African crapo. I'm afraid he's right. Yeah, that's not what he said, Stuart. That's not what he said. That's what the members of the Senate and the Democratic caucus who violated classified conversations in the White House went and rushed out to the podium. Oh, Trump called Africa shithole countries. He didn't do that. Not true. The emphasis on the structure of the sentence. Donald Trump said, why are we funding shithole countries like Haiti and countries in Africa? That's what he said. That's what he said. He never called Africa shithole countries. People just chose to believe it because they believe whatever they hear in the media. But that's not what he said. They just lied about what Trump. But whatever. He called Haiti a crap hole country. That's for sure. ANC cannot move away from being freedom fighters to governing country. That you owe me mindset isn't their downfall. It is interglobal, but they weren't freedom fighters. Virtually none of them actually fought for freedom. A lot of freedom grifters who, after the fact, glom on and claim that they were freedom fighters. But only about 2,500 people ever actually served in Mkonto-Wesizwe. And a lot of them were murdered in Quattro. Yep. So, Haiti is a crap hole country. It is. It is. And if that hurts Haitians' feelings, you know what? Stop eating the dogs. Stop eating the cats. All right, let's get to the topic. I know some people woke up to see this tweet. It wasn't a tweet. It was on Truth Social, but whatever. Same difference. 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. So actually, I've got it open twice here. Son of a gun. Didn't realize that. Okay, let me put that over here. Zoom it up over there, and we're going to full screen. So here's the tweet or the truth that Donald Trump posted earlier this evening, which has got tongues wagging. Well, it's last evening because it's the next day. And I'm going to intersperse that with Cyril Ramaphosa, pandering to the uneducated, the low information voters, the people who get the vote and really don't know what they're voting for. And I say that because anyone that's cheering the stupidity that he said here years ago doesn't understand what's going on. So let's get to I'm sorry. That's not what I need. I got this in the wrong place. There we go. It's over here. So this is Donald Trump's tweet on the screen, and then Cyril, maybe some snarky comments from me interspersed with what he said a few years ago. So here we go. You ready for this? So about a minute and a half of this. Excuse me.
We've been saying, or this issue of the land, this issue that Donald Trump fears so much, we offer this question of the land. I don't know what Donald Trump has to do with South African land because he's never been here.
I don't know what you have to do with land in Pennsylvania. Shut your keiko, Deuce.
And he must keep his America. We will keep our South Africa.
Away, Amanda. Keep your South Africa. We don't want it.
That's what he must do. South Africa is our land.
Well, you can have it.
South Africa belongs to all the people who live here in South Africa. It does not belong to Donald Trump.
Well, it might belong to Bill Gates if you let him buy your land.
He can keep his America. And Ene is even worse. He's even worse. When I meet him, I will tell him.
Oh, you do that, Cyril. I'm sure he's just waiting to meet your beanhead.
I'll say, you, Donald Trump, you are even worse because your forebears came to America. They found the native, the indigenous.
Okay, look, I got to take this off the screen because it's just irritate me. So Donald Trump's forebears came from Germany a century ago and landed. His grandfather was an immigrant. His grandparents were immigrants from Germany. The name was Trumpf, Trumpf. And the Trump family came there, and his ancestors weren't the forebearers in America. They didn't wipe out the Indians. They were immigrants. So, this deuce doesn't know anything about the history or about Donald Trump or about American history. He's just a fool. What do you say, Penguin? Oh, my jackass Penguin agrees with me. He says, yeah, Cyril is a jackass. He knows jackasses. This guy knows other jackasses. He knows Cyril. Yep, there you go. So there you go, folks. Cyril Ramaphosa. Let's hear a little bit more of the garbage coming out of his filthy mouth.
Americans, they wiped them out. They killed
Wiped them out?
all of them. Rene, we are living as a nation, and black and white, we are going to find solutions for our land question. So Donald Trump must leave us alone.
Donald Trump must leave us alone. Well, we will leave you alone. And we'll keep giving you $500 million a year, free access to our marketplace, supporting the International Monetary Fund, the World Bank. We will leave you alone. Good luck, Cyril. Let's see how that goes for you. Meanwhile, at Andrews Air Force Base earlier this evening, Donald Trump was asked questions by the media.
So you said that you were going to cut.
So they lose their minds because they think, oh, we're going to cut aid to Africa. Nope, just to South Africa. So Trump hits the nail on the head. Here you go, folks.
So you said that you were going to cut aid from South Africa. Will you plan to cut aid across other African nations, and why South Africa?
No, it's only South Africa. Terrible things are happening in South Africa. The leadership is doing some terrible things, horrible things. So that's under investigation right now. We'll make a determination. And until such time as we find out what South Africa is doing, they're taking away land, they're confiscating land, and actually they're doing things that are perhaps far worse than that.
And on the back.
So in the first term, I told you Trump wasn't going to save South Africa. And I'm going to tell you again today, Trump isn't saving South Africa, but he certainly is having an impact. It's up to South Africans to save South Africa. And I encourage you to inundate your local municipal councilor. And I don't want to hear the nonsense, well, we're just the municipal level. You need to talk to national. Hit them, hit your provincial member, hit every political party. If you support the DA, write to the DA, write to Action SA, write to the Freedom Front Plus, write to the Patriotic Alliance, write to all of them. Call them. Saturate their emails, saturate their websites, saturate their Twitter accounts. Write to Gate McKenzie, to John Steenhuisen, to Helen Zilla, to, I started to say Mangusul Buthelezi, no. Velenkosini Hlabisa, write to Peter Hernavald, write to all of them. Athol Trollop, write to all of them. Send the messages, flood them, make them hear you. Let them hear your voices, South Africa. Stand up, stand up. Give that man a bells. Thank you for the 40 Rand, Tian. You have agency. You are not the downtrodden. You are not powerless in this argument. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm telling you to tell those politicians that because you have 20 days left. Logan Naidu, thank you, Logan, for joining. You have 20 days left to effect change. A Section 80 challenge to this constitutionality of this law should be forthcoming, but it will take 132 members of parliament, 1/3, to get the necessary votes to send the letter to the Constitutional Court to force them to decide the constitutionality of this law. You have 30 days from the time the president signed the bill. He signed it 10 days ago. Get off your asses, get off your bums, get out and go. Stop eating the dogs, stop eating the cats, stop whinging, stop whining, stop complaining. Make your voice heard. Get moving. If 10 million South Africans, black, white, and brown, voice their opinions to the ANC, to the DA, to the Freedom Front Plus, to Action SA, to the ACDP, to all of these parties, to the PA, they'll have no choice but to pay attention to you. I don't care if they're just there for payday. Annoy them, teens, annoy them. It doesn't matter if they're just there for payday. Flood their offices, stand in front of their offices, knock on their doors, demand appointments. Do it. Make a nuisance of yourself. They'll have to do something, or they'll have to go hide. Emil, black South Africans didn't put BEE in. The ANC put BEE in, which includes whites, blacks, and Indians, and coloreds. It wasn't black South Africans. It was the ANC. Jim Bob Wiley, welcome to you. Eating the dogs, they're eating the cats. Shots have been fired, folks. Shots have been fired. Thank you for the super chat. So, South Africa was once sanctioned for the rights violating policies of apartheid, and now, in order to remain logically consistent, the world must do the same for land grabs. Scrooby Newbers, I said that for years. I said that with BEE. These are racist policies. It doesn't matter whether it was the National Party or the ANC. And I've said for years, they're the same coin. They're two sides of the same coin. The ANC and the National Party are two sides of the same coin. ANC, National Party. Socialist parties. Now, one was more effective, far more effective, the National Party than the ANC, but that's not the point. But their political ideology is the same. You're claiming they're right of center, they're claiming left center. It doesn't matter. Both like state control. The National Party out of necessity, the ANC out of desire. But they both had parastatals. ESCOM. Well, now Airports Company saw that. That was an ANC creation. Janelle, Arms Corps, Sassel, Transnet. These are all state-owned entities. The ANC loves them. The National Party loved them. The National Party silenced people, censored people with banning, shut them down, shut the press down. The ANC does the same thing through intimidation. Look what Tembe Similani is trying to do to journalist Paulie van Wyk. Darren Sukraj, thank you, Sukraj. Look what they're trying to do to Paulie van Wyk and Cowan, trying to silence them after they reported on her undue affluence. And the ANC uses other means to accomplish the same thing that the National Party did. Two sides of the same coin. Two sides of the same coin. State ownership of the means of production, perfectly fine with that. Oppressing people based on skin pigmentation, perfectly fine with that. Dividing people based on race, perfectly fine with that. National Party, ANC. Difference is National Party, effective and efficient. ANC, a joke. The issue of the majority of South Africans are happy with the direction the ANC are going. They cheer them on, wank them off, and how can we possibly move forward? Okay, that's just nonsense, Tyler. Okay, I'm just going to refute that. Okay, let's look at South Africa's 2024 national elections. Okay, that's simply not true. You're making a statement that's not backed by facts. 2024. Why does it have test matches? Okay, election results. There we go. So the turnout was abysmally low in the election. Let's see if this tells me what the turnout was. Okay. So, does it tell me the turnout? I'm looking for this. Okay, 27 million people were registered to vote. Okay. Turnout, according to this, was 58%. But that's bullshit. There are 41 million eligible South Africans to vote. 41 million. So 58% turnout. That's not even the case. Not even close to that. So of the 58% of those who registered, which is just 27 million out of 41 million, so you're already down by 40%. So 40% don't even register, okay? So take 40% of the eligible voters off, and that means you get 58% of 27 million. That means you get what, about 20 million, 18 million people voted? 18 million out of 41 million, that's less than 50% of the people bothered to show up. And of that less than 50%, the ANC got just 40% of that. So that's barely over a quarter of the South Africans voted for the ANC. So this is, Tyler, where we part ways on agreeing. Less than 25% of South Africans voted for the ANC. Overwhelmingly black South Africans, but less than 25%. So they're not people voting for the ANC and cheering them on. Now, if you add in the MK and EFF, then the percentage is higher. But still, it's not even half the country. It's not half the country. It just isn't true. Voter turnout. 27 million people are eligible. That's not true. Now, 27 million people were registered to vote. Yep. So this Wikipedia page is factually incorrect. Whoever's editing this needs to do some work. They got it wrong. So, no, the ANC is a minority party in the eyes of South African eligible voters. People forget when South Africa had many sanctions on them, only Israel still supported South Africa. I don't think they will make that mistake again. What's Cyril going to do about misgender Trump? I have no idea what that sentence means. Are you trolling? Is there a purpose behind what you said there? Yeah, he is a deuce. Thank you, Feifei. But what do you think the outcome would be if the 41 million vote? Well, Tyler, I think a lot of those people don't vote because they're apathetic. I know black South Africans who don't bother to vote. And I know white South Africans, a lot of white South Africans don't bother to vote because they're apathetic. And the people that I know would never vote for the ANC. So Jeantel voted for the wrong party. The 3% grift is so blatantly overt, it shows the arrogance of the ANC. Exactly. Yeah, their tide laws are so in your face. Yeah, that's I mentioned that on Gareth Cliff earlier about the 3% black tax. Yeah, that's not even mentioned. It's being overlooked. Hanali van Heerden says people not voting are saying that what is happening south there is okay. Now, I don't agree with that, Hanali. People get depressed and they get in a position where they think that they have no impact, and that's why I'm trying to tell South Africans now you have agency. Use it. Get out there and get the Section 80 appeal out there. Yep. Cyril has juggled more balls than the average circus entertainer. I think Cyril has juggled more balls than the average porn performer. Terrible human trafficking things. Oh, that's a whole other story. Yep. Ramaphosa, we are a nation, black and white, living together, but we are being robbed and slaughtered. But yeah, we are one nation. Yeah, there you go. I would rather say it's because ANC cannot afford bribes anymore. If voting mattered, they wouldn't let us do it. George Carlin. Yeah, George, pretty funny, but he's also passed on, so he's not here to refute what he said. I'm laughing because South African media is very silent. Spin doctors. Yeah, there's finally an article on News 24, but it's not even the top story. I went to News 24. It's not even the top story, folks. Can you imagine that? News 24 did not even carry the sanctions or the threat. Okay, let me see if I can get to the front page. Maybe they've updated now. Let me see. So the most important story happening in South Africa this morning as you wake up in South Africa, Peter Gostelo, thank you for subscribing. Bye donkey. The most important story, hands down in South Africa, is Trump cutting off future foreign assistance. This is more important than the Kendall power station, more important than load shedding, which comes again next weekend, more important than anything else. And this is what's on the front page this morning of News 24. There's nothing on IOL. There's nothing on the Daily Maverick. There's nothing on Times Live. This is it. Fire and ash, 3 hours ago. Yet a story an hour ago about Donald Trump is not even at the top of the page. So I've put it here. Trump accused South Africa of confiscating land and cuts funds. And let me tell you how useless News 24 can be. They didn't even write the story, which is fine. They're part of a wire service. They get this from the French press. Edward Meyering, thank you for subscribing. They got this from the Agence France Presse, AFP. That's fine. That you're part of a wire service. They get it. So there's no reason that this couldn't have gone up overnight if somebody was working at the paper. And when they put it up, there's no reason it shouldn't be the top story in South Africa. This is insane. This is the top story in South Africa, yet it's not even there. It's not even there. It's buried below the fold. Wow. So AFP wrote this story, but News 24 didn't feel it was important enough to carry. And I will show you the IOL. I'll refresh it in front of your eyes to see if they put a story up. It's now 7 o'clock in South Africa, or 8 o'clock, 8 o'clock. Plenty of time to have written a story. So that's the IOL. Let's see if the Trump story makes the front page now. I'm reloading it. It's a little bit slow there, coming from South Africa. There you go. Finally, they got it. They've got the story. Cuts funding. Accused country confiscating land. Okay, the Times Live. Let's see if they've woken up to reality. So I'll give the IOL credit. They finally got a story up by 8 o'clock. There's Times Live. They're taking a bit longer. Eskom is still their top story. The Times Live still has Eskom. And they have a story about Wouter Kellerman winning his third Grammy. Who gives a flying flip about Wouter Kellerman winning his third Grammy when South Africans are going to be suffering because of the ANC? But yeah, okay, credit to the IOL. They got a story up. Well done. I'm actually impressed by that. A little surprised. But the rest of the world is responding. The Guardian, which is 5 hours ahead of us. Entropy Steve, thank you for your subscription. Trump says he's cutting off funding to South Africa over land confiscations. U.S. President Trump has asserted South Africa is confiscating land and treating certain class of people very badly. Yep. Well, there you go. And they're going to play the race game. But I'll tell you the certain class of people are property owners. That's the class of people. Yep. And that's skin irrelevant, skin neutral. The Financial Times says Trump vows to stop U.S. assistance to South Africa over the land law. The rand falls after the president singles out BRICS nations over expropriation of property. Yep. Donald Trump has vowed to halt all future U.S. assistance to South Africa over its land expropriation policies, triggering a fall in the rand. He later told reporters that South Africa's leadership was engaged in some terrible things, horrible things. Yep. There you go. The most scary part about this for me of the expropriation bill is that it can be done by anybody. The bill as it's signed allows national, provincial, and local authorities to confiscate your property. Property is everything. Yep. So MoneyWeb in South Africa also carrying the story this morning. They got up. This is by Suran Naidu. Saran Naidu. Is that the person who just subscribed to my channel? Saran Naidu ran a story about this earlier today. I don't know why that's there. So there you go. It's at 5:45 in the morning. Got right on it. Well done at MoneyWeb to Saran. U.S. President Donald Trump launched a trade war at the weekend with some of the biggest trade partners. But then the adds, the rand plunged to 19 to the dollar in early morning trading on Monday following Trump's post. Wow. It's a massive human rights violation. We will not stand for it. Yep. He said, also, I'll be cutting all future funding. Wow. So South African press is waking up to a new dawn, a new morning. Here in the U.S., the New York Post, finally one of the U.S. first media outlets to cover it. At 9:30 tonight, 4.5 hours after he first said it, Trump will cut off funding for South Africa, claiming a certain class of people are being treated very badly. South Africa's confiscating land and treating a certain class of people very badly, Trump said. They don't know why he posted it, but he did post it. So, and there's the Ramaphosa right there. So, Politico also was one of the first to carry this story in the United States. South Africa's confiscating land and treating certain class of people very badly, Trump wrote. Yep. So, Ramaphosa, speaking recently at the World Economic Forum, said he expected to get along well with Trump. I spoke to him soon after he was elected, congratulated him, and we both said we're looking forward to continued dealings and engagements. But that was before the ANC's president signed the expropriation bill into law on the 23rd of January, 3 days after Trump was sworn in. Do you honestly expect the Americans to sit by while you violate the terms of the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act and violate your signature on the Universal Declaration of Human Rights and violate the Section 25 of your own Constitution? You expect us to sit by and do nothing? Good luck with that, buddy. Good luck with that. Yes, the world will take notice now, Bazooka. That's the best thing he's done. Jeraham Nicholson. Thank you. My surname used to be Nicholson a long time ago. My stepfather's name is Nicholson, and so when we lived in Pennsylvania, I adopted that, and that was my surname. Yeah, he's referring to farm murders. Get back to the chat here. I still don't understand what Kingfisher Mike 61 was trying to get at. All right, back to, there's Cheryl's juggle more. Okay, Cheryl, he said, okay. Scrooby says, Socrates considered democracy could only work if the majority of the electorate were educated and rational individuals. It was remarkably lucid for a guy who lived 3,000 years ago. Stan Witten, welcome. Well, democracy can work. The problem is that you have to have checks and balances, and we have that. That's why we have the Electoral College. We have created a unique system that prevents tyranny of the majority. Brilliant. Well done. It works mostly. Hanali, don't you just love the ANC-controlled media? Yep. Marco Rubio is coming in 3 weeks. Well, in 3 weeks, the ANC will have had time for members of parliament to sign a letter, to go to the Constitutional Court, to declare this unconstitutional. There you go. 3 weeks. We've given South Africa 3 weeks to get it together. South Africans suffer more now because ANC top dogs have billions and millions and farms galore. Yep. Moondancer said, Jody Obery, thank you for your subscription. Moondancer says, good interview with Gareth. Thank you very much for that, Moondancer. I appreciate that. They want to hide it because it highlights the point of view they don't want people to see, says Tyler. Well, that's what happened to me on YouTube. Tina Foster, thank you for your subscription. Benjamin Labaskakny, conservative voters globally have been apathetic for decades and are only now waking up, as recently happened USA with Trump's election. Yeah, well, that's probably true. And we Americans take some blame for that because for decades, we sat around as conservative. Now, I was in uniform and I'm not allowed to be a political actor, so I wasn't. I just voted. That's the only recourse I had. But we as conservatives sat around and watched as our schools were invaded, as the media was invaded, as our universities were invaded, as Hollywood was invaded, and Hollywood went from being a conservative sector of the economy. Our schools went from being centrist. Our universities went from being centrist to radically left on everything. They ruined the Boy Scouts. It's now the Scouts of America. They ruined so many different things. They destroyed our culture, our society with their sick, radical, woke ideology. And people sat around and let it happen. The tide began to turn, not when most people think it happened, but the tide began to turn for the world and for America. First off, props to Viktor Orban in Hungary, who believes in Judeo-Christian values and also believes in sovereignty and is a conservative. And Viktor Orban stood up to the European Union when Trump was out of office and held the line on wokeism. So congratulations to him, and also to Poland for a while, who also kept it for a while. But the tide began to turn in Virginia when a high school student was raped by a transgender female. male genitalia teenage boy who sexually assaulted and raped a girl in a high school in Virginia. The school board didn't report it to the police. They covered up the rape. The girl was traumatized. She didn't tell anybody about it except the school, and they covered it up. Her father eventually found out about it, was incensed, went to a school board meeting, and wanted to know why they had covered up the rape and not reported to police and let his daughter be raped by a transgender in the bathroom. Because it didn't fit their political narrative, they used law enforcement to grab him and assault him and drag him out of there, accusing him of disrupting the hearing. When the world found out about that, Virginia found out about it, it turned. That's when the tide turned. Willem Engelbrecht, welcome to you. I know a guy named Willem Engelbrecht. I don't know if a firefighter named that. I wonder if that's the same guy. Welcome. So that's when the tide began to turn. The tide picked up steam with Glenn Youngkin's election, the first Republican governor in the history of the state of Virginia to win every single county, including Loudoun County and Fairfax County, which are heavily leftist because of that nonsense. So Youngkin became the governor, a conservative. And then the next big step was Musk buying Twitter. That's what changed it. It started with the school situation and the rape in Virginia, but the tide turned severely when the Twitter files were exposed, the collusion of the government, the misuse of federal agencies to spy on Americans, abuse Americans, and violate the Constitution. And then, of course, all the lawfare against Trump kept the momentum going, made more people aware and alert to what was happening in the election of Trump, and the world has changed, and hopefully for the better. I see it is on MoneyWeb. Yep, it's on MoneyWeb. DJ Visser, if one adds the percent votes that the black party's like... Exactly, DJ Visser. That's what I said a few minutes ago. I said the ANC is below 40%, but their vote went to MK and to the EFF. Yep. Papa Juice, what's scary? Either on post is that stupid or it's done on purpose. I think he's that stupid. We're heading the same direction as Zimbabwe. Oh, so you're a poultry farmer in Limpopo. Well, welcome to you. Welcome to you. I hope that you're doing well. I had chickens, and we used to collect eggs, and we didn't sell our eggs. We consumed our eggs ourselves and our chickens, but I was a dairy farmer. He was referring to the farmers, the other horrible situation. South Africa needs change now. Agreed. Load shedding is just a spiteful reciprocity by ESCOM for not getting the nurse a request. No, it's incompetence. That's what it is. Louis Meisty says, USA must cut all funding. South Africa corruption is endemic. For 30 million citizens are unemployed. Borders are open. Illegal. Yep, that's all true. That is all true. I'm so glad that Trump is doing what our so-called non-racial government promised to do 31 years ago. Yep. ANC hypocrisy, farm murders, BEE, EWC are going to be exposed. Bella, the 3% black tax, national health insurance. Yep. Trump should ban Hollywood from filming in South Africa. I don't know they can do that. What's the next move? Well, the next move, Shawnee, if people listen to my advice, which I put on the Gareth Cliff show, is get a Section 80 challenge to this constitution. The next step for Trump is that I wouldn't be surprised to see on Monday, February 3rd, which it is now, Donald Trump issues a suspension of South Africa from participation in the Africa Growth and Opportunity Act, which the ANC will just dismiss. He's just being arrogant. We don't need that. Well, it'll make the products that South Africans ship to America 2% more expensive, which some will be able to eat the cost of that, like winemakers might be able to absorb it. Others won't be able to absorb it. Auto parts makers ought to be able to, with all the inflation and car part prices, they could probably afford the 2%. But that's the first step. Then sanctions. So we'll see what happens. And South Africa does act against national security interests of the United States. I've been talking about that for ages. Yep. And, okay, who knows these days? Okay, Miss Bazooka is happy. Miss Bazooka, what did I miss something there? Hopefully every South African who Mr. Trump knows speaks up to save South Africa from complete economic implosion. U.S. universities removed the right indicator lights from the cars. You're right about that, Ark. 416 people here, says Shawnee. Wow, I didn't realize that. Thanks. Nick Stevens, this will be devastating to South Africa. Shortage of maize already a reality. No rain, water shortages, municipalities broke. South Africa brink collapse. Nick, that's probably a fair statement. Ian Nell, happy for South Africa. Please don't forget Namibia as we are financially and politically connected to South Africa. No, you're right, Ian, but so is Botswana. But you're more so. You're more dependent on South Africa because your currency is tied directly to the rand, whereas the pula is not. The pula has traditionally been stronger than the rand for the past 20 years. So Botswana will be a net winner out of this. Namibia could be a winner out of this, but your currency is going to take a hit. Yep. Victor Orban, smart guy. Yep. Better South Africa. Paul says, those of us who lost everything and own nothing are still being attacked and don't care if South Africa implodes. Perhaps that's just what we need. Tottenham is back. You're hyper-focused on that because you want to ignore your country is being stripped and sold for parts. You can't sleep because of the looming market crash. Are you being facetious, Tottenham? Looming market crash? No. Not concerned about a looming market crash. Not concerned about my country being stripped and sold. Nothing's being stripped and sold. Nothing here is being stripped and sold. Oh, that's another thing. Thank you. I forget, was it Elizabeth or somebody from Limpopo? I can't remember. Taralco, you gave your name earlier. I think you said Elizabeth. That's another thing. There's nothing to stop Parliament from holding a vote of no confidence against Cyril Ramaphosa. Now, the ANC is not going to vote for it, and the DA won't vote for it, so it won't go anywhere. MK and the EFF, 58, 39, so 58, 68, 78, 88, okay? And 9 is 97. That's 97 votes right there. You get 97 votes against the ANC. You can probably find a few other smaller parties. At least it'll say something, but he won't be voted out. The transgender madness in America is beyond comprehension. How does toxic movement gain so much power? Because people sat around and did nothing about it. And because social media is incredibly powerful, and the media are incredibly powerful, and they fueled this nonsense. And as a consequence, we've got this garbage in this country. And it's being obliterated now, thankfully. Make South Africa great again. South Africa's allies, Russia, Iran, China, North Korea, are opponents of U.S. interests. Correct. Nathrix, thank you for subscribing. Stuart Creevy says, I'm trying to catch up with the chat here, folks. There it is. Louis says, okay. Tottenham, you're smoking so good. I think he's trolling in a funny way. Tottenham does that sometimes. Elon Musk deserves a Nobel Prize, according to the brilliant professor Godsad. Yeah, Godsad is an interesting guy. Trump may develop Messiah complex. He might. He might not. Don't fit the BE criteria, says Rihanna. What do you think is the next step for Trump on the ANC issue? Suspension from AGOA. That's next. That's coming. That's coming. Probably as early as today. Then tariffs. But he might hold off on the tariffs until after Marco Rubio visits. Majority of IQ South Africans under room temperature. Oh, my goodness. My family immigrated from UK to Africa in 1898. Soon the family married into Afrikaans families, Van Staden, Alberts, Blingno, Taljaard, and Potgieter. Love these people. Okay. Do you think Musk is behind this? I think he had some input in it, but I think Joel Pollak probably had some say in it too. And there's very suspicious timing about when I laid out U.S. foreign policy and what South Africa has done to U.S. national security interest and the economic ties between the two and how we don't get anything and that South Africa benefits and the ANC behaves the way it does. 3 days ago, I put a video up. That video's got 160,000. That's not a lot on YouTube. People get tens of millions of views sometimes, but it's a lot for my channel. And I'm not an unknown entity. Some people know I am. In fact, I was asked for my CV to be considered an official in the Trump administration. I think nothing will come of that. I'm not boasting. I'm just telling you. It's a statement of fact. I was asked to send my CV in at the end of December. I did. I haven't heard from anybody. So again, there's thousands of names in there. But I'd like to think that somebody that has a little pull saw my stuff and shared it. And I think that maybe that had something to do with it. I don't know. Just hoping. Phobos, I hope it causes the private sector to use power. Exactly. That's what Rob Hersoff also wants. He wants the business sector to get their act together and start pushing. Feeder is back. Wow, it's been a while. Do you think this will bring change? Possibly. Details of attacks on minorities need to be publicized for people in the world to see. These small channels should be the carriers. This will help the world better understand what's truly happening. Well, Play 24, I've been doing this for 5 years. I've covered Edward Neumeister's murder, Brendan Horner's murder, Sefetso Poule's murder. The list is endless. I've covered all these stories. The Braun family, what happened to them. Had to punish somebody there, folks. Sorry about that. Belarus SABC had reported Trump stopping foreign aid earlier. I didn't see that. Let me go to their Twitter account and see if I can find something there. See what they've got to say. SABC. Let's see what they come up with. SABC. Okay. Weather, sports. Some guy is beaten up. I see nothing on it there. It must have been on television. They haven't posted online. I can't watch SABC from here, so I have to rely on their clips they put online. Remember, be against all people except blacks, reverse racism. Yep. If the ANC support Israel, Trump would immediately start throwing money at them. That's not true, Jonathan. That's pure fiction. You have no evidence of that, and none whatsoever. Your demonic obsession with Israel is telling, Jonathan. Una just subscribed. Thank you for your subscription. Peter Hood says, remember, okay, I got that. Okay. Cornelius, ANC is going to squeeze the white people out of spite. You already spoke about Trump, tweet about Mealy Made. I did, and have done it over the course of 3.5 hours earlier than on Gareth Cliff's program. And then I did at the beginning of this program, and I'll bring it up again here shortly. So hang tight. I've talked about it. Trump's most physically active president, U.S. Yeah, he is. He's unbelievable. Can we become the next state of the USA? Nope, not going to happen. The best turn events happening on X is that people are being very careful what they're saying due to community notes. You don't want that on your points. Elon is a genius. No matter how good your Constitution is when it was written, it means absolutely nothing if no one adheres to it. Correct? Correct. That is not only a U.S. problem, but it is. You're right. Lewis says, were South African soldiers in the DRC? Was it protecting personal interests of puppet master Cyril Ramaphosa? We don't know. My supposition, it has to do everything with the ANC's arrogance, their ability to be tin pot soldiers from Lutuli House that can just send people off to their deaths whenever they want. In Burundi, Eritrea, the DRC, CAR, Comoros, Lesotho, wherever they want, Mozambique, they send the troops off. The ANC has done more deployments than the SADF did, I think, in the 70s and 80s. Seriously. I left South Africa 2 years ago at age 57 with a suitcase. Best decision ever made. I will not change my lifetime as much as I miss the place. I'll never go back, says Stuart. Sorry to hear that, Stuart, that you had to leave. Race hustlers are out on SABC and ENCA. Oh, are they? I can look at ENCA. I'm sure they will be. But let me just put something in very good perspective here, folks. Oh, I don't want to post. I wanted to find ENCA. Let me just put something very perspective here. These clowns can attack America for us not giving money. But it's our money. It's our money. All I'm saying on ENCA on their Twitter is Patricia DeLille's coming on. About tourism, who cares? Trump accused of confiscating land, cuts funding. Okay. That's it, but there's no video there. It's just a image. So here's the thing: the race hustler can come out and they can claim this is racist. It affects white, colored, black, and Indian South Africans. It affects all South Africans. It's not racist. It's our money. It's our resources. It's our generosity, and we have no obligation to give it to you when you're so rude and disrespectful. ANC. Simple as that, man. Simple as that. Nothing will change. Chris for Trump's ambassador. South. Well, thank you, Tyler. I'm up for that. Ramaphosa doesn't care. He's a billionaire. When the Rand tanks, his fortune skyrockets. No, his assets are in South Africa. Chuma Gancho. I'm a South African man. We're not taking people's land. Thought Trump was trying. Not sure why he's trying to affect policy. We're a sovereign state. Okay, Chuma Gancho. First off, it's not about land. You're new to the program. Thank you. Welcome for coming here. Kia labo for your comments. It's not about land. It's about property. It's a political tool used by the government in power, which today is ANC, to silence its opponents. And it will be used selectively to go after its opponents. And it's not about land. It's about land. It's about stocks. It's about pension funds. It's about insurance. It's about cars, jewelry, Krugerrands, whatever property you have. It's very clear in the Section 25 of the South African Constitution what constitutes property, and it's not exclusively land. It's also very clear in Section 25 of the South African Constitution that you must compensate people just and equitably, and it must be for public purpose. So the expropriation law violates the Constitution, is unconstitutional. Simply passing a law that violates the Constitution doesn't make it legal. The threshold for approving the Constitution was far higher than passing a bill in Parliament that can be abused, which is what's happened here. So that's nonsense. There is expropriation of land. The land has been expropriated in South Africa, but to this point, it's been expropriated with compensation. The ANC are thieves. They don't want to pay for that land. That's what's going on. And that property. They will use it for purposes beyond acquiring land. And I've told people this for years, and now people are listening. It's about time. So what else did you say? He said, not sure why he's trying to affect policy. We're not trying to affect policy. Now, you're missing the point, Chuma. Do what you want. The ANC can do what it wants, brother. They can do what they want. They can expropriate property till the cows come home. We don't give a flying flip. But you are not getting our tax dollars to support the ANC's theft of land from lawful landowners or property from people who properly own it. You must respect private property rights if you want to participate in African Growth and Opportunity Act. And if in order to get U.S. foreign aid, you have to respect property rights. It's simple as that. It's an international norm. An international norm. Peru came back from the brink of oblivion by issuing land tenure to peasants who are occupying land. That gave them capital, and they used it, and Peru's economy flourished as a consequence of that. The ANC is sitting on billions of dollars of dead capital. Why doesn't the ANC issue tenure, land title, to RDP houses? Here you go. You live at this house in Alexandria. We built this RDP redevelopment. Here you go. Here's your house. Here's your title. You own the land, and you own the house. It's worth 50,000 Rand. Now you've got capital. Go to the bank. I want to start a tuck shop. Here's my business plan. I need 10,000 Rand. All right. Put up your house against collateral. There you go. Boom. Boom, shakalaka, problem solved. But the ANC doesn't care about poor people. They don't care about black South Africans. They don't care about white, colored, or Indian South Africans. They care about caters. That's who they care about, Chuma. And the moment that South Africans wake up to this reality is the moment that this country will have an epiphany and it will have a chance to move forward. But as long as people play this nonsense, we're not stealing land. It isn't about land. It's about political control, and that's what it's all about. That's the bottom line. So what else did Chima say? Did I miss it? I'm going to go back to it. We are a sovereign state. You are a sovereign state. But you know what? You're not entitled to my tax dollars. You're not entitled to send your wine into my neighborhood package store with no duty when German wine carries a 2% tariff. Why do I have to pay 2% on German wine but not on South African wine? Because we give you special privileges. And for that, the ANC shits on us. The ANC pokes us in the eye. The ANC insults us. Donald Trump was president for 3 days when Cyril Ramaphosa signed this expropriation without compensation into law. It's been sitting on his desk for 3 years. Why 3 days after Trump became president? Because he's an arrogant asshat. He's a deuce. Napoleon Dynamite. Ramaphosa doesn't care. Okay. So Chuma, thanks for being here. I do appreciate your subscription. I hope you have some more comments here. Love to hear them. Jeremy Rogers, big stuff uploading South Africa. They poked the bear and now they must suffer, but they won't. The people who vote for them will. Yep. It's one of those most painful and difficult things to do. Lose everything and start new. Yeah, exactly. If it wasn't for America, we would all be speaking German now. Well, you mean in Europe, that's true. USA should keep all their money and help their own for a change. Lots of veterans and calamity-stricken citizens that need more time for USA to take care of USA. What are your thoughts on Cyril and Rwanda? I think Cyril is one of the dumbest rocks in the box of rocks. Why would you pick a fight with Rwanda? Calling the Rwanda Defense Force a militia? It's one of the most effective and experienced militaries in all of Africa. I mean, they ended a genocide. They built a military out of a guerrilla movement that ended a genocide in which 850,000 people were slaughtered with pangas, with just small arms and a few grenades and little FM radios. They did this, coming in from Uganda and chasing the genocideers into the Congo, which caused all kinds of chaos there for the last 30 years. But they built a country that's based on free market capitalism. It is a censored economy, and you can't say anything about the government. But beyond that, they have a clean place. You go to Kigali, the streets are clean. There's no rubbish laying around. It doesn't look like anything like South Africa. It doesn't look like Hillbrow. That's for damn sure. They have automobile manufacturing in Rwanda now. They sell goods and services. They have a net trade surplus. That's Rwanda. And calling their military a militia, when their military has actually done something positive to end the violence in Cabo Delgado, when SADC sat on its thumbs and didn't go anywhere, when the South African ANC ignored Cabo Delgado for years. I warned about the Cabo Delgado problem in 2015. And the moment that I did that on LinkedIn. And the moment I became broadcaster on YouTube, I started talking about Cabo Delgado again and the coming threat. And it was ignored by SADC. It was ignored by the ANC. But when they needed help, Felipe Nyusi got help from Rwanda. They went there and did something. So picking a fight with Rwanda Defense Forces, who, by the way, if they decide to have a battle with the 2,000 South Africans that are trapped in Goma, good luck to the South African National Defense Force. You have no lifeline. You have no resupply. You have no medevac. You have no leadership. You have no experience. And here is the Rwanda Defense Force sitting just a few kilometers away on the other side of the border with tens of thousands of armed, heavily experienced troops with lifelines, lines of communication, medevac, all the resource they need to slaughter your troops. And Cyril Ramaphosa wants to start a pissing contest with Rwanda. That's the dumbest, stupid. The guy's an idiot. Space Force has proof every cent that's been stolen. Huh? What are you talking about? Keith says, can you very briefly run through the key behaviors that go against South Africa's rules with this new bill for those who just joined? Well, you talking about the expropriation bill? Sure. That's very fine. I can do that. Just a second here. Give me a second. I'll pull it up. It's not there. That's a different thing. Is that it? Yep. Okay. So I will run through this for everybody real quickly here. So thank you for asking. Keith is in Coventry in the UK. So let me just, I've got a slide for this. See, I made these slides. These are coming in very handy. I'm using in multiple streams now. So this is Section 25 of South Africa's Constitution. The law violates this. Property may be expropriated only in terms of law for a public purpose or in the public interest. Hang on a second. This looks better if I do this. There we go. For the public purpose. It's subject to compensation. The amount of compensation and the time and manner of payment must be just and equitable. Now, by the way, the amount must have been agreed to by those affected or decided or approved by a court. So the people you are buying from have to agree to the price, or the court has to say that it's legitimate. And then it must be just and equitable. Property is not limited to land. So a number of factors go into deciding about whether land can be expropriated, not just whether it's for public purpose or in the public interest, and that is the current use of the property, the history of the acquisition and the use of the property, the market value of the property, the extent of direct state investment and subsidy in the acquisition and beneficial capital improvement of the property, and the purpose of the expropriation. There you go. Yep. So for the purposes, Johan Labaskakny, thank you. For the purposes of this section, the public interest includes the nation's commitment to land reform and to reforms to bring about equitable access to all South Africans' natural resources. But see, that's bullshit, because South Africans don't own the natural resources. That part of your constitution is just weak, because unless you're considering land to be a natural resource, South Africans don't own the resources. If there's coal, if there's coltan, no, there's no coltan. If there's coal, if there's platinum, if there's diamonds, there's gold under your soil, it's not yours. It belongs to the government of South Africa. So in America, you own that. You own the mineral rights. So that's just BS nonsense right there. I'm just telling you, that's how it is. All right, so ANC government became used to handouts. Yes, they did. Michael Dutoy, welcome to you. It is a gift, not a commitment. It can be withdrawn at any stage, Charles. You are correct for that. That's what we're saying here. So, Keith, I think I covered it there. USA should next import Afrikaners. ANC and acolytes are just another Zimbabwe. Blame their dismal fare in the U.S. and the West. Yep. The ANC wants to shut down private hospitals. They want to force people to go to government hospitals. What does this benefit? Doesn't benefit anybody. It destroys healthcare is what it does. Yep. All right. So I just had deja vu. That's crazy. Let me get back to where I was. Oh, there I was. Okay. The government can go get more money from BRICS. No, they can't. Good luck with that. Fox 9 p.m. segment just spoke about the farm murders and Trump's sanctions move. Mark Levin. Okay. All right, cool. Trump 2.0 has the whole world's attention. Yes, he does. And he's not messing around. He's not taking fools lightly. We had political power for 30 years now, and when the ANC had the majority and they didn't just take land, they've been trying to find the best way, but evidently... Okay. All right. Thank you, Chuma, for jumping in. I will address that. When you say we, I assume you mean the ANC. I don't assume you don't mean black people, because the ANC is not black. It's predominantly black. They've chased all the whites and Indians and coloreds out of the party, except for Barbara Creevy and a handful of others, but it was a multiracial party. So Puvi Archery said hello. So Chuma, let me explain what you're talking about there. First off, this is a red herring. This is a red herring. Millions of hectares of land have been purchased and held onto or redistributed by the government. The government has failed to provide extension services, credit, training, resources, capital for aspiring farmers. That's the first thing. Second is that most black South Africans don't want to be farmers. They simply want to own land to live on. They want to own a plot of land or to build a business on. Very few people are trying to acquire land to be farmers. Farming is a very difficult profession. Trust me, I was a dairy farmer. It doesn't get any harder than being a dairy farmer. So that's a mistake. The ANC are not just trying to find way. They're not trying to find the best way. They have the best way. They've not followed through on it. 2 years ago, the national budget included well, last year actually, a whopping $35 million for land acquisition. Why did they devote so little? They spent more money on advertising than they did on purchasing land, the ANC government. That's a joke. It's an absolute joke. An absolute joke. It's not a serious commitment. But despite that, they've acquired a lot of land and they're sitting on it. The largest landowner in South Africa is the government of South Africa. If you want to distribute land, same thing in Zimbabwe. The largest landowner in Zimbabwe was the government of Zimbabwe. But they want to steal successful farms that people have built with blood, sweat, equity, toil. And show me a farmer that did not acquire their land legally in South Africa today. Show me a property owner that did not acquire their land legally in South Africa today. You're going to find it very hard to do that. There were 75,000 land claims. And see, this is something else. See, I don't know where you get your information from, Truman. I'm not attacking you, but I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you're listening. I'm glad you're contributing to the conversation. So, Bois, I really appreciate that. But the bullshit that the ANC feeds people and people don't know better or too lazy to go find out is astounding. It's astounding. First off, almost no South Africans own land. Let's get that straight. If we're going to talk about land, almost no South Africans own land. Only 95,000 white South Africans own farmland in 2017, according to the government's own land survey. They did an audit of land in 2017 and published the results. And I used those results to write an article about land and poverty in South Africa on LinkedIn. If one of my mods could put that link up, I'd appreciate it. Actually, I might have it. Let me see. I was using it earlier. Let me see if I still got it there. It's not there. Not there, not there, not there. Okay, I don't have it. So if one of my mods has the link to that LinkedIn article, appreciate if you'd share it. So it's a red herring. Land is available. There are thousands of farms available for sale right now in South Africa. Just go look. Go to Pam Golding. You can find farms. The ANC doesn't want to buy the land. They don't want to give it to people. They want to use this as a tool to divide South Africans, to get votes, to stay in power. That's all it's about. It's not about farming. Most of the successful black farmers, aspiring black farmers who've gone into commercial farming, have been successful because they've had help from farming unions and farming organizations and commercial farmers who are their neighbors. Statement of fact, statement of fact. Eastern Cape, Western Cape, Gauteng, take your pick. It's the same all over the country. So, Chuma, what you're saying is that the ANC's tried. They haven't tried. That's a lie. Not on your part, on the part of the ANC. It's a lie. It's total bullshit. They've never tried. They've never taken it seriously because they don't care. This is a vote-getting theme, a Thema in German, for them. That's what they want. They want this as a cudgel. They're also including land that's previously been redistributed to black farmers. And then they sell the land back because they fail, because they get no support from the state, no help, no experience. Just because you're a farm worker on somebody's farm in the Karoo doesn't mean you can be a sheep farmer. Peter van der Heever, welcome to you. It's just nonsense. Being a successful farmer isn't simply being handed farmland. Ask the people in Zimbabwe how that went for them. It's utter nonsense, Guma. But thank you, Chuma, not Guma, Chuma. Thank you so much for being here. People divide, people that can be controlled. Yep. ANC has failed South Africa dismally. We need a president and a cabinet with balls of steel. Give me, I want, you must give me. ANC motto for the world. Yep. Donovan Webster says, time for secession. Well, look to the Inganyoma Trust, the Zulu Nation, and the Western Cape for that. The way certain sections of South Africa still blame apartheid for current problems is beyond ludicrous. We have had 3 decades. Well, and the majority of South Africans were born after the end of apartheid. They're children of the ANC. Chantel Tulis, thank you for subscribing. Yeah, so it's just total nonsense. These excuses don't carry any water. Colonel says, Pala Pala was selected. Trump is elected. You people have to understand the ANC. Is it okay? Neo Rain, I can't take anything Rob Herzog said. Seriously, he donated to CR17. I don't know. Did he donate CR17? But Neo Rain, Rob was honest when I interviewed him, and I said, you remember the Ramaphoria? I didn't fall for it. And he said, he said, Chris, you didn't. You were the one person who said you don't believe it. It's not true. So he admitted that I was right. I don't know if he contributed to CR17. I didn't. Huntley is still here. I wish all the whites would leave this country and let the nation rot out. Why? I mean, why would you want to leave your country? It's your country. You built it. Black, white, and brown people built South Africa, for better or worse. ANC and FF people that complain and say they're owed the land and say BE needs to be more stricter. It's utter nonsense. Israel said if South Africa goes to war with Rwanda, they'll join Rwanda. Why did they say? Seriously, where did you get that from? You just making that up? Ramaphosa will start a war with Rwanda because of outside interest. He's going to force conscription for a minute. Nah, unlikely. think that Ramaphosa took too much of Klaus Schwab's poison. News 24 starting report. Okay, good. They do another story. They put at the top of the fold. Excuse me. Sorry, folks. Throat clearing here. It is 1:38 in the morning. So let me go back to News 24 and see what they've got there. Mr. Mo subscribed. Thank you for the subscription. South African government rejects Donald Trump's confiscation of land acquisition. Well, you can reject all you want there, Ronnie Lamola, but the tap gets turned off. You pissed off the Don. What did I say? What did my video say? Dear ANC, don't piss off Donald Trump. What did they do? That was my video yesterday. They pissed off Donald Trump. So you could sit there and claim that you're right all day long, ANC. You're not, but it isn't going to make any difference. Ronnie Lamola. South African government responded to President Trump's social media post. Department of International Relations and Cooperation Minister, the failed Justice Minister, little Ronnie Lamola, urged the USA to attain thorough understanding of South Africa's policies within the framework of constitutional democracy. No, you can go shove it up your backside there, Ronnie Lamola. The full framework of constitutional democracy, your law violates your constitution. We're not stupid. We can read your constitution. We can read the Expropriation Law. It violates your constitution. And don't come trying to preach to us about, look, hang on. Yes, my friend. Yeah, Ronnie's a deuce too. Oh, sorry, it's my friend, the jackass penguin. He's a good friend of Cyril Ramaphosa. He says that Ronnie's a jackass. Anyway, so there you go. His fellow comrades continue to vote for the idiot. I think Ramaphosa took too much. Yeah, okay, what else? Gary Fall says, ever since ANC was unbanned in Mandela Reese, ANC's only policy is redistribution of wealth and not economic growth. Exactly. And they're destroying the country. If South Africa's economies were good, South Africa would be booming. Yeah, well, it could be booming. Gerhard Diego says, the communist ANC runs South Africa according to what the UN, struck them. Okay. There's, go back. Let me go back. Come on, YouTube does this, man. It's it's not YouTube. We're trying to affect change slowly, not like Zimbabwe. However, if you look closely, Mugabe tried to negotiate for a long. Nah. Yeah, Chuma, don't even try that. You're talking to the wrong guy. I'm a subject matter expert about what happened in Zimbabwe. That's horse manure. Let me tell you what happened in Zimbabwe. We've covered this endlessly, but not recently in the past in this channel. Let me tell you what happened in Zimbabwe. Mugabe said, you're welcome to stay. Why? Because his friend in Tanzania, Julius Nyerere, Mzee Nyerere, warned him, don't chase your whites away. We made that mistake. We chased them away. It's a disaster. Also, don't turn your country into a socialist paradise because it's a disaster. And that's what Tanzania did under Julius Nyerere and destroyed the country. And he recognized that error, but he stayed in power forever. Anyway, so he warned Mugabe. So Mugabe said, hey, you can stay here. You can stay here. This is your country too. And once the Lancaster House Agreement terms expired and the country went from a parliament of 80 seats with 20 reserved for whites, which is not fair or real, but they did it. And then it became a republic and had a president instead of a prime minister, and almost no whites served in government after that because they're just a tiny fraction of the population. Mugabe control the country. So from 1980 until 1992, the British government gave the Zimbabwean government 63 million pounds in total. Now that 63 million today is like $250 million or more. Okay? A lot of money to buy farms on willing buyer, willing seller basis. The government of Zimbabwe used that money to buy farms for Constance Chiwengo, for Robert Gabriel Mugabe, for Emerson Mnangagwa, for Sharon Peary, and for a whole host of corrupt ZANU-PF officials in the security services and in the Politburo of ZANU-PF. They didn't buy land for war veterans or poor black Zimbabweans for the most part. So after 12 years of this, when John Major came in office, the UK said, that's it, we're done. Done and dusted. No more money for Zimbabwe. You're not getting money. You're not buying the farms for the poor people. You're keeping it for your stealing thieves. So when the money got turned off, the money they were siphoning off for themselves, they lost that. In the 1990s, Zimbabwe's economy struggled. Why? Because ZANU-PF stole. They stole from the farmers. They stole from the Grain Marketing Board. They stole from the industrial base. They stole from the government fiscus. They stole from Zimbabwe Air. They stole from everywhere. Things got so bad that by the year 2000, after the Asian flu, which affected global economies, Zimbabwe had nothing left to steal from the economy. Robert Gabriel Mugabe put a referendum up to give himself dictatorial powers. The new Movement for Democratic Change campaigned against that under Morgan Tsvangirai and Roy Bennett to get people to vote against this referendum, which went to the people, saying you will give the president total control. The parliament's just a rubber stamp, essentially. Mugabe had never been told no in his life, except when they took one of his testicles because he had syphilis back in the day. So the story goes. I don't know. Anyway, but Mugabe had never been told no. The voters told him no. Resoundingly, he lost this. When he lost that referendum, he was pissed. Now, who did he take his anger out on? Who was involved with the MDC that helped them finance that campaign to defeat Mugabe's referendum? Well, commercial farmers like David Stevens, Martin Olds, and several others, because they thought they lived in a democracy. It was their right to donate to political parties and to stop this because they saw what was coming. They were already being forced to sell their maize at less than market price to the government marketing board. So if a bushel of maize was $10 Zimbabwean on the market, the government would give you $8. So you lose $2. You're forced to sell it to the grain marketing board. Then ZANU-PF takes it. They take it to the marketplace. They sell it, and they make the $2 profit, and you go bankrupt or you borrow more money and go in debt. So the farmers had enough of this. So they backed it. So Mugabe took his revenge out by taking farms from the people who were supporters or participants in the MDC, white commercial farmers. But he quickly lost control of the situation, like South Africa is going to do if they don't stop farm invasions and land invasions right now, like it's going on in Polokwane and Shishego up in Limpopo province. If they don't stop this nonsense, it's going to just metastasize and go out of control. And that's what happened in Zimbabwe. So, no. Zimbabwe didn't try. They were thieves. The ANC hasn't tried. They're thieves. That's the facts. Okay, so they were not strung along. They weren't fed up. They're just thieves. They ran out of things to steal, so they went for the farms. Law is just a load of BS jargon disguised what Mugabe did to Zimbabwe. Exactly. And the further proof of that is, Chuma, when Zimbabwe introduced an indigenization law. What was the justification for indigenization? If I go to Zimbabwe and I make a crisp factory out of my capital, my hard-earned money from my life savings or capital I borrowed from a bank in London or in New York, and I go to Zimbabwe to try to create jobs by growing potatoes on a farm. I don't even have to have the farm. I buy it from black farmers, and I build a factory to make these crisps. I have to give 51% of my equity to a black Zimbabwean. Why? What kind of nonsense is that? They don't try, they're just thieves. Mugabe took farms, all his stooges, exactly. What stops the ANC from ignoring the Constitution and do what they want anyway? They act like they're in... Well, the courts can do it. It has to be a court challenge. Marius said, I mentioned before the U.S. must start with sanctions against the ANC. All the caterers, international bank accounts must be frozen. Yeah, well, that'll get their attention. Yep. You need to go much slower. First, you need to explain what a red herring is. What is a red herring? A red herring is a term that comes from journalism, and it's herring aren't red. It's an odd thing. A red herring is an outlier. It's just a false story. It's something that's made up. So let me get what the dictionary definition is, and I'll explain it from that. So define red herring. Okay. The red herring fallacy. A red herring is a logical fallacy that involves diverting attention from the main issue by introducing an irrelevant topic. Yeah, it has nothing to do. It's not germane to the topic. So that's a red herring. Welcome, Phobos. Are you from that Jovian moon? Is it Jovian or Saturn moon? Phobos, one of the two. Okay. Land is a status symbol. Yep. There is still vestiges of law and order. Yep, there is. ANC must explain what all these institutions have been doing all these years. Exactly, 100%. Nixters, I'm South African. I support Trump, Rwanda, and Israel because these ANC members are destroying the future. Energy, water, sewage, petrol, tariff increases, extortion, South African citizens, African politics. It's funny that almost every Jew in South Africa supported the ANC for decades. That's actually true, Jonathan. That's actually true. The ANC had lots of support from Jews in South Africa. In fact, the Freedom Charter was largely written by South African Jews. The ANC takes credit for it, but they didn't have anything to do with it. The ANC are sitting land, it suits. Yeah, exactly. Hello, me. What the ANC does is the same as what Hitler did. The one difference, so we're not concentration camp. Cabello says, worse, the comrades take the farms themselves. Exactly. That's what happened in Zimbabwe. Sarah Aronse says, good morning, Chris. I wish you can let everyone know how much money we as pensioners receive from our government. 2,190 Rand. This is our income for a month, but they spread. Oh, that's horrible. 2,190 Rand. Sarah, that's horrific. That is absolutely horrific. 2,190 Rand divided by 19. That's a couple $100, man. That is $115 a month. That's a joke. I'm sorry. I'm not speaking your situation, but that's a joke what the government provides. Yep. They paid the Cubans 500 million Rand to send people, hey, the dad just subscribing, they pay the Cubans R500 million to come over and provide medical doctors for COVID. They didn't do anything. It cost South Africa 500 million rand to bring Cuban doctors over. Why? So they could send money to their friends? And where did they get that money from? Ilya Aish, in 2005, a friend's father was murdered on his farm. They executed him on his bed. I had slept on the weekend before. His killers never caught. Of course not. There was no interest in chasing down the murderers of farmers. Sarah, I'm so sorry to hear that that's how little you get. BE shuts out white South Africans from jobs, lands, and without compensation. Oppression was worse than Trump's right to act. I hope it hit South Africa hard, the ANC hard. Neville Crowley says, I'm an evicted Zimbabwe farmer and now see the identical situation. So Neville Crowley, whereabouts was your farm? Was it in Matabele land or was it in Mashona land? Were you in the coffee region up there? And what did you farm? If you don't mind sharing, Neville, and tell me what I got wrong. 38% of all commercial farmland, by the way, 42% of commercial farmland in Zimbabwe was purchased at least one time after Mugabe became prime minister in 1980 and then president. Over that 20-year stretch, 42% of all the land that the government of Zimbabwe deemed to be commercial farmland, much of it is farmland in the south that was marginal and was resurrected by commercial farmers with their know-how in irrigation and fertilization. But 42% of all the farmland in Zimbabwe was sold at least one time from 1980 to the year 2000. If ZANU-PF was serious about purchasing land, they had 20 years. They could have purchased nearly half of the farmland and distributed to poor black Zimbabweans. 38% of the commercial farmers who were in operation in the year 2000 became commercial farmers in Zimbabwe and purchased their land after Mugabe became president. Every land sale in Zimbabwe had to be done with the first right of refusal from the government of Zimbabwe. So this story about Zimbabwe is all bullshit about how they were strung along. That's a fucking fiction told by leftist scumbags and supremacists who lie. The fact of the matter is the Zimbabwe lied. Mugabe lied. And people died. And people are suffering now because of it. It's a total fiction. Total fiction. 42% of the land was sold at least once. They could have bought 42%. And then, well, they didn't have the money. They had 63 million pounds. What did they do with that? Not to mention they have their own money. It was a well-functioning economy. Tons of money. Tons of money. Anyway. Yeah, Trump is going to go hard because he doesn't have the extra 4 years. Leona Martin says at least 42% of South Africa has too much blind loyalty to the ANC. I don't know about that. They only got 40% of the vote. So we're getting 42%. Cornelius, and that's those who bothered to vote, as we discussed earlier. The Men's Conference Media Club. What do you? It's men's. I didn't see that. Come on, we're not going to go into a discussion as it's proven explicitly. Reality how apartheid government was. What? I have no idea what you're saying there. Peter says, we hope you get considered for ambassadorship, South Africa. You would make a great one. Your love, interest, and concern for the country is really appreciated. Let's hope you accompany Mark Rubio to South Africa. Well, that'd be great. I'd be happy to go with him. It was more about what's going on. Okay. ANC pit the race against one there. That's true. Incognito David says, they tried killing me in a farm attack in 2013. I was 17 years old. All that for a laptop. I thank God I survived with only PTSD to deal with. I'm blessed in comparison to my neighbors who did not make it. Incognito Davis, I'm sorry for what you experienced, and I'm really sorry for your PTSD. I hope you've overcome it. Post-traumatic stress disorder is a very difficult thing for people to deal with. It happens to survivors of rape. It happens to people from accidents, from horrific housing fires, and veterans, of course, too, as well as farm attacks. It's a terrible thing. I've been very fortunate. As far as I know, I don't have PTSD. I've never been diagnosed with it, but I've certainly dealt with some pretty horrific trauma in my lifetime. Achuma says, according to President Mbeki, Mugabe called leaders and asked them to pledge contributions to compensate the farmers. A lot agreed. Then the U.S. went around the background telling people not to. That's a lie. That's a lie. That's a lie. Why would the U.S. do that? First off, okay, Chuma, I'm really glad you're here. And thank you for contributing because I can dispel fantasies that they've lied to South Africans about for years. Let's accept the premise that that's true. To what end? Why would the U.S. do that? By the way, who is the single largest foreign aid donor to Zimbabwe of all time and still to this very day? The United States. Who kept millions of Zimbabweans from starving to death? The United States. With food. Who keeps a couple million Zimbabweans alive with antiretrovirals? The United States. Despite farm invasions, despite farm theft, despite farm murders, the United States continued its support for food and HIV throughout that whole time. Never stopped it. Never stopped. Increased it, in fact, over a number of years. This is nonsense. To what end? To what gain? Why would they do that? The United States doesn't care about Zimbabwe. What did Bush say about Zimbabwe? Do you remember what Bush had to say about Zimbabwe? Probably not, because he didn't have much to say about it. That doesn't make any sense. So without evidence, I can't accept it. And I know better. I know Chris Dell, the ambassador, who was in Zimbabwe when this crap was going on. Anyway, Mugabe called leaders. What leaders? What leaders did Mugabe call? Cite some. The only person I know that Mugabe would call would be Muammar Gaddafi. Muammar Gaddafi would be the one person listen. But Muammar Gaddafi would demand that he be allowed to build mosques, introduce madrasas into Zimbabwe in order to give you money. What leaders were called? When were these leaders called? This is a fairy tale. Don't believe in fairy tales. Believe in facts. Warren Fundamental. Sadly, when men puts greed, arrogance. Yep, okay. Mr. Mo, why do people think the ANC are stupid? They spent 30 years creating a country that's hundreds of thousands of whites leaving voluntarily every year. There's so few of us left. That's untrue, Mr. Mo. Untrue. There are 4.8 million white South Africans. South Africa's white population in 1910 was 20% of the population. It was 1 million. Today it's 4.8 million. There's 5 times as many white people living in South Africa today as there was a century ago. Yes, several hundred thousand, 800,000, 1.2 million have probably left the country, but there are plenty of white South Africans. Cuban doctor helped Vilma. Well, that's good to hear. Well, I didn't say the Cuban doctors weren't good. I just said they weren't doing anything during the COVID. Tottenham says, what's wrong with mosque? Did I say something is wrong with mosque? Don't start your horse shit here. I lived in Muslim countries. Stop your nonsense. Some of my best friends are Muslims. So stop your idiocy. U.S. is rolling the wrist, especially with the triumph of Trump at the helm. Panama just conceded. Yep, that's right. The Chinese have been kicked out of the Panama Canal. Sanctions work. Yep, the threat of sanctions work. All right, so there's that. Where are we at now? 578 people here. Thanks, folks. Be sure to hit the like button, become a subscriber. Thank you for the gift of membership. Oh, somebody got a gift of membership to Crystal Pontac. Welcome. My sister's in Australia. She left because this country doesn't care about us. ANC wants to tax her now, even though, yeah, isn't that crazy? But you know what? That's how America does it. If I work abroad, I have to pay American taxes. Doesn't matter. Yep. I farm sugar in Masingo. You just don't learn, do you, man? You don't learn. I'll give you 5 minutes this time to see if you learn your lesson. Okay. I realize now that I need to give more context with my message since they are being read when the topic has moved on a while ago. Yeah, Phobos, I'm caught up now in the chat. It took a while to get there. My apologies for that. But there's a lot of chat here tonight, and I'm trying to answer everybody's best I can. I think one day when things get better, the Colonel must get dual citizenship and be made special member of Parliament. I don't know about that. I cherish my American citizenship. I made a joke about the red herring explanation because at that point you were arguing with... Oh, okay. I'm sorry I missed it, Phobos. But did I give a satisfactory explanation of the red herring situation? One day if things get better. Okay. And Daniel Bota. Hey, let me take a look with all these people that are popping in here, subscribing right now. I think we're probably over 27,000. No, we're close. 26,975. I got excited for nothing. We're close. 26,975. Let me see how my Trump video is going from earlier. Shots fired. 9,200. That's some good news. It's still early morning in South Africa, just about 9 o'clock. Hopefully that'll keep going. The DRSA one I did on Sunday, or Dear ANC, that one is not really going big. It's doing okay, but it could do a lot better. And let me take a look at a couple of these other ones here. The Trump video that got everything rolling a few days back is up to 171,300. It looks like it's, let me see if it's getting a life again this morning. So yesterday at this time, it was, what time is this? This is 11 p.m., midnight. It was better yesterday, so it's not growing as much, but it's doing all right. Okay, so someone just subscribed. I missed that. It was Elvin Hale. Welcome to you. Elvin Hale, like, something from Mordor. Wow, the elves. So I want to see a couple other things here. So how are we doing here? The live count of subscribers. Come on, there you go. Oh, yeah, the trajectory's been great. It's all really started in earnest back on the 22nd, so we're doing well. And it picked up a lot of pace on the 29th, which is just before the weekend. So we are 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Okay, we had 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock. Okay, we're at 8,000 views this hour. And yesterday, 1 o'clock was was 4,500. We have twice as many views today as we did yesterday, but we didn't have Trump announcing that that he was hurting the ANC. We needed Trump in South Africa. Bobby B's back. Success has its drawbacks. Now you'll never keep up like you usually do. Oh, I'll keep up, Bobby B. You can always put this on the slow chat. You need to run South Africa. Well, thank you, Nixers. I need to run a lot of places, but being honest, being forthright, being competent, being talented, being dedicated, being patriotic isn't enough. I know. I ran for office this year, and I lost. I ran for office in Pennsylvania for the 92nd Congressional District of Pennsylvania, and I spent a lot of my personal savings out of my pocket to lose in running for office. I ran for office because the incumbent had stepped aside and was running for a higher office, and there's no better time to run for office than when there's no incumbent. But unfortunately, 5 people jumped in the race, and there was dishonesty and corruption in the campaign, and I didn't win. But it's fine. I would be in the Pennsylvania legislature falling asleep listening to discussions every day. I'd much rather be like a cabinet minister or an undersecretary or something like that can actually get things done. What's going on with the Bucks? Jerry Mack, pathetic soccer league. Yeah, I don't watch soccer. What's going on with the conversation about Paul Stapelberg? Why didn't that just ring? It didn't ring. Thank you. Oh, I got a mute. I must have hit the mute button. Sorry about that. What is about the Bucks games? If the country's integrated football had the Craven Week varsity up structure, things would be different. No idea what you're talking about. Craven Week is a private organization. It's not a government thing. You want to have a week like that for soccer, then do it. Get the clubs to take their money and create it. I mean, why do people always have to steal the ideas of other things? I mean, the Rugby World Cup is a private organization. It's controlled by World Rugby, a private organization. It's not run by governments. The FIFA World Cup is it's a corrupt organization based in Switzerland, but it's a private organization. If you want a premier soccer league tournament, or you want something like Craven Week for kids, then do it. Do it. There's nothing stopping you. ANC communist cronies are interested in themselves. Yep. New Galaxies. Keep going, Chris. Love your work. Well, thank you, New Galaxies. I like New Galaxies. I'm a huge space aficionado. Fred says, hi, thanks for your voice and awesome work. My wife works on TB Grant, impacted by all this, but we see the bigger picture with Elon and Trump. All right, well, thank you for sharing that, Fred. The whole thing was kind of discombobulated last week because Trump never stopped the foreign aid. That was a misnomer, and people read it wrong, and non-government organizations in South Africa jumped the gun. And I think some of them intentionally shut down things just to draw attention and to attack Trump. The reality is that what Trump did is he said no new commitments. So you have existing funding. You're paying for a contract that's paying for an NGO that does this work for TB or malaria or HIV. That can continue. But you can't commit to new commitments until the 90-day pause is over. It's a shame. But thank you for sharing that, Fred. Who on earth wants to watch 22 wannabes running after a bag of wind? I have no idea what Stuart's talking about there. No idea what he's talking about there. Charmaine, Men's Club says, in general, white South Africans tend to isolate themselves in every way. It's the foreign white people that are more open-minded sometimes, at least. I disagree with that, Men's Conference. So are you an expert on white men in South Africa or white South Africans? I know a lot of white South Africans. A lot of them. A lot. And I'd say at least half or more of the ones I know hang out with everybody. Leovin, if she's here, she works with black folks and gets along with, hangs out with. She showed me one of her best friends, an Indian fellow in Joburg. Introduced me to in her workplace. I'm not buying that story. Yes, there's some truth to that, but there's no different than me going to Xhosa communities, no different than me going to Tswana communities, no different than me going to Zulu communities who don't associate with other people. Don't take proximity and location to mean people don't associate. And so what? It's their prerogative. Virtually zero. What's this? Good job, Chris. I'll vote for you. Well, thank you, Nixters. But I wasted a lot of money for that campaign. Gaddafi, millions disappeared on the ANC. Yep. JMX says, ANC are easily bought. They will jump for any master that pays them enough. White citizens must stop caring. I think all citizens should stop caring. Why should it just be whites? All citizens. Jono, hello. New subscriber, expat living in Perth. Perth. I want to get there for... Okay, let me look and see if the British and Irish Lions series, where the games are going to be. British and Irish Lions, because I don't even know if I can get tickets, because I was supposed to go to the South Africa one. And Irish Lions. I'm hoping there's a game in Perth, because I've never been. Tour 2025. Okay, let's see where the tour dates are. Fixtures. Here we go. All right, cool. Come on. Let's see. Okay, so there is a game in Perth against the Western Force on June 28th. Okay, that sounds like a plan. Yep, okay, so they play just one game in Perth. So if I'm going to go, that's got to be the one. They play Western Force. I actually used to like Western Force in Super Rugby. Used to have one of the Aberhart boys are playing there. South African used to play there. So, Perth, just one game. Dublin, Perth, Brisbane, Sydney, Canberra, Adelaide, Brisbane, Melbourne, and Sydney. Yeah, so the problem with that is that that's against all the so they don't play the Wallabies until July 19th. That's a long time for me to be in Australia. Actually, no, it's 3 weeks. If I could swing it, Go to Perth and then catch the Wallabies in Brisbane. That would be interesting. Could do that at Suncorp Stadium. Yeah, there you go. Suncorp Stadium. You did a great job tonight, especially that interview thing. Well, thank you, Drunken Yoda. Appreciate that. You're up late. Thank you, Jonah, for joining us here. Fred Ellis, it's high time the world finds out the atrocities and thieving in South Africa. Yep, exactly. I agree. I've been trying to tell people for a long time. Concerns for my family and friends back in South Africa. The new laws passing take land. It's okay, Jonah. It's not land. Okay, that's where this is all going to get bogged down. It's not about land. It's about property. Okay, if land was excluded, people wouldn't be paying attention, but they need to be paying attention. It's about everything. Pierre Orban, it's good to see you there. Sad, sad day for honest working people in South Africa. I agreed. Parallel structures just entrenched and divide. No one wants to steal it. Who wants to cooperate? I don't know what you're saying, men's conference. It doesn't make any sense. Sinet Fundameva, white South Africans do not isolate themselves. It's a cultural differences. People thinking and acting the same usually have more in common. Exactly, Sinet. Exactly. It's the same reason why immigrant communities tend to cluster together. The Italians cluster together in New York. The Puerto Ricans cluster together in New York. Doesn't mean that they're isolationist, that they're standoffish. The Amish clustered together. They shared faith. They attended the same churches. Why in the world would you go put yourself in a place and then, have to drive 5 hours to go to your church or your mosque or your synagogue? It doesn't make any sense. Jocelyn Cleary just subscribed. Thank you for that. Tony Edwards, the Viva ANC voters. Viva, thank you for the potholes, the electricity, Conla fire pool, pala. Yeah. What about, don't forget gray listing. Since rugby and cricket are now political sports, I will not support a sports initiative. Well, Nixters, I support Springboks. I'm a huge Springbok fan. I've got like 40 or 50 Springbok jerseys. I have my own channel called Rugby Ascendant, my own brand for rugby. I cover rugby all over the world, in London, in France, in South Africa, here in the United States. I go to games in all those places. I follow the World Cups around, England for the World Cups. So, yeah, anyway, I got no problem. I don't appreciate the political nonsense, but I'm not going to abandon my love for the game. What else? ANC's campaigning. These are the consequences. Yep. Chris is referring to whites watching PSL. No, I'm not. Oh, you're telling me you're referring, Stuart. Okay, gotcha. Marissa Oberholzer says, as a South African 67-year-old lady, I admire your guts to speak out against the corrupt government. Well, it's easy. I'm a person of conviction. I've accomplished plenty in my life, and I don't tolerate the BS. I'm not going to lie about it. And I'm also not sitting in a place where I put myself in jeopardy. So it's not that hard to do. You just have to be a person of conviction. I'm a person of conviction. For those who missed the start, you can see, please run through Section 80. MPs can challenge this new bill. What are the best ways to put pressure on MPs, please? Okay, so Tulani Ndlovu. Ndlovu is Swahili for elephant, by the way. Tulani, welcome to the program. Thank you for your subscription. And there's Rick Prothero. Man, some of these names are tough. Prothero. How can you put pressure? Again, someone needs to organize a march on Parliament. Multiple marches. There should be a march on Parliament every week right now. Get a permit. Get out there and do it. You've got plenty of organizations. You get the Black Monday guys to do it. You can get AfriForum to do it. You can get Solidarity to do it. You can get DRSA to do it. You can get the unions to do it. You can get all kinds of people to do it. So, and then, inundate their emails, inundate their offices, stand outside their offices, stand outside your council's office. You're a citizen. You're allowed to go to municipal buildings. Do it. Okay, Keith, yeah, good advice. Go back to the beginning there. ANC is, okay. Chuma's still here. Good to see a young South African Kosa and an aspiring farmer. Not Zim. I'm not ANC, nor do I think we should take land, but there's unused abandoned land around we can't use. Okay, Chuma, thank you. I'm glad you're still here. You're Casa. That's awesome, man. Are you from Western, Eastern Cape? My presumption is one of those two places. And you're an aspiring farmer. Okay, what kind of farming do you want to do, Chuma? And do you want land? Because there's land available. The South African government has land. Apply to the lands ministry. Well, it's not the lands ministry. It is a lands ministry now, but it's under that Pan-African Congress or the ATM guy. It's under the African Transformation, whatever, the guys who want to steal land. But the land ministry is there for land. Make an application. I'm not sure how that works exactly, and ask for land. That's cool. You're an aspiring farmer. That's awesome. What kind of farming do you want to do? Cattle, crop, poultry, dairy. I hope you don't want to be a subsistence farmer because that's not the answer. Yep. So, gun show. That's an unusual name. Okay. And there's no such thing as abandoned land unless it's actually abandoned. The fact that something looks disused doesn't mean it's disused. And that's one of the problems. So we have that happening right now in Shisheho in Polokwane. Sorry, my back is itching. Somebody must be talking about me. I think that's the myth when your back itches. Anyway, they're occupying land. They say it's disused. It's abandoned. It's not abandoned. Someone owns it. Land that's fallow doesn't mean land that's not used. Land must be restored. It must be allowed to lay fallow periodically. And land also is there and left alone for water table, right? The fact that someone's not sitting on land doesn't mean it's someone's right to take it. And the fact that there's lots of land that appears to be unused, there's a reason land is unused. You know, look at Japan. They have this massive sinkhole because they've drained the water table, and right in the middle of the city, a truck falls in. The guy's been trapped for days on end. I don't know if they ever got that old man truck driver out of there because people overuse the land. There's a reason for land laying fallow. It's not just because people have ignored it. After millennia of settlement, we've achieved the maximum use of most land. So, Chuma, it may look abandoned, but that doesn't mean it's abandoned. There may be some abandoned land. But there's a reason why people abandon land also. They abandon land because they get harassed and pressured by the government. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. Somebody could comment, it's very obvious we care about it. Yeah, that's good, Bernard. Look at this. Everybody in the chat, for the most part, a couple little trolls, but most people are contributing, and it's really good. Thank you for that. I'm glad we're fostering this conversation right now. I mean, it is 2:10 in the morning, and I'm still up here doing this. Potholes are the new swimming pools. Yeah, exactly. We need to come to form together and design and integrate society where respect for each other and live wealth. Well, Men's Conference Media Club, I don't think anyone's going to disagree with you Don't think anyone's going to disagree with that. People need to get along. But they're not going to get along as long as you have three factors that are contributing to the racial divide and the societal and the class divide in South Africa. I'm not talking about the systemic underlying issues like the idiotic macroeconomic policies of the ANC. I'm talking about those people who actively undermine social integration. There are three groups of people. Number one, social media trolls, including a few people popped up here tonight. They actively try to divide people based on race and ethnicity. So that's the first thing you have to deal with. The second thing you have to deal with is the media. The media spends all their time trying to divide people. It's ridiculous. It's pathetic. It's sad. And then the third thing are the politicians. They exist to cause tension and division. And that's how they get elected. Divide this group against that group instead of inspiring everybody. Mark Backhouse. Trump won not by dividing people. They call Trump a racist and a bigot and an anti-Semite and a homophobe. These are all lies. Trump won this election because he united Americans behind a vision. You don't have to like Trump, but that's a statement of fact. Gays, record numbers voted for Trump. Hispanics, record numbers voted for Trump. Majority of Hispanic men voted for Trump. Blacks, record numbers of black men voted for Trump. And record numbers of blacks voted for Trump for the first time in 50 years since blacks voted for a Republican candidate in large numbers. The list goes on and on and on. Arabs in Michigan voted overwhelmingly for Trump. That's how he won Michigan by just 40,000 votes, because of Arab voters. Trump united everybody. Gays, straights, blacks, whites, Hispanics, Asians, Pacific Islanders. Mookster, thank you for subscribing. You unite people, you bring them together. But instead we have the Chuck Schumers and the Adam Schiffs and the Mitch McConnells and the Susan Collins who divide the country. And in South Africa, you have the same thing. Julius Malema and Jacob Zuma. Stephen Steinman, thank you for subscribing. They divide people every day. The ANC, that's all they do is divide people. What inspirational thing has ANC ever given that's truthful? They shout all this inspirational stuff all the time, which is nonsense. Oh, like Ramaphosa earlier. I mean, listen to this. Tell Donald Trump, this is our country. Really? That's not really an effective message. Had a traffic officer tell me to foot sec, roll up her window, then continue looking at her phone the other day when I asked for assistance with a block. Should have recorded it and laid charges. Yeah, see, now if you told her to foot sex, she'd call you a racist. Neil Kruger, greetings from Zambia. Hey, Neil, welcome from Zambia. I've been to Zambia. Been there a few times. I don't speak Chichewa, which is spoken in the East, the same language spoken in Malawi. But I've been to Zambia a few times. Been to Vic Falls on the Zimbabwe side, but I can see Zambia on the other side. But I've also been to Lusaka on a few occasions. Stayed in the Taj, I think is the hotel I stayed in when I was there. Bird meat, I'm a citizen, but I also need a job. I can't just get up and march. Springbocks are beacon of hope. Yeah, they are. They are. What else? Okay, hello me. Okay, just an observation. It seems like there are more and more interference from China. The end of the load money, South A will do something. There is a lot of trouble from China. They'll try to get the ports if Dubai doesn't get it. Mosquitoes. There's no mosquitoes here. It's 30 degrees Fahrenheit. It's below freezing. Alice McGee. Okay, it finally counted down to 10 minutes. What's 10 minutes? What are you talking about? National Key Points Act makes it hard to march in Parliament, just to tell you to disperse. Well, there were marches during COVID. I know, because Jeremy Nell participated in one, and he called in from there. And I had a live feed from one of the marches. So it is possible. And you can do other things, not just march there. Okay, let's see what else we got here. If South Africa had a proper government in place, it would be an African superpower for sure, and it would be a global force, but instead it's become a joke. Jean tells us, I need to make a list and give it back to my black friend for all the property I need. Okay. Avram Shamuli, you made a mistake accusing Israel of genocide. God is punishing South Africa. Oh, not me. You're talking about the ANC. I've watched your live with Neil DeBeer. People should start to listen to this wise, intelligent man. Who, me or Neil? For your info, Trump is defending Israel. What did he do? Vuyani Ngamlana. I'm a South African. We have 1,000 houses, 100 meters. Those are zinc shack houses. We call those camps. We have almost 1,000 of those camps. To build white people have all the land. Actually, that's not true. Okay, dude, if you're going to spam the stuff, I'm just going to delete your comments. That's ridiculous. Maybe it's a mistake, so I won't censor you or spank you for that. I'll assume that you thought that your message hadn't gone through. So I'll just delete the ones that are superfluous and get rid of those. We don't need 5 messages from you about the same thing. So I'll remove those, and I'll just assume that you had something wasn't there. Good God, dude, I'm gonna give you a block if you try this nonsense. Okay, so that's 5 times you sent the message through that I can see. I'm going to remove you again 6 times maybe. So I only need to see 1 message here. Stop polluting my stream with this nonsense. Okay, so, all right. So I am a South African. We have 1,000 houses in 100 meters. Those are zinc shack houses. We call those camps. We have almost 1,000 of those camps. We must build white people have all the land. That's a lie. White people don't own the land. Okay, I'm tired of this bullshit. We're going to do this now. I'm going to go to the article because I'm tired of this horse manure coming up here. And people want to sit here in a delusional world and spread their lies and lie about what's going on in the world. I'm not going to tolerate it, okay? Just not going to tolerate this. So let's just go to the videotape, and I will bring up the stats here. Let me go to my article. Articles, here we go. I should just keep this thing open because I'm using it a lot lately. So the 2017 land audit in South, this is already years old, and already proves that this is a lie about who owns the land. So here's my article. This is a screen capture from the land audit, right out of the land audit itself. I didn't write this up, and here you go. So all the land isn't owned by whites. That's horse shit. First off, whites never owned 87% of the land. It was reserved, but a lot of that land was owned by the government. So whites never owned 87% of the land. What happened was wrong and immoral, but that's a different argument. That's a fair argument. This bullshit we're not going to tolerate. So whites own all the land. Now, in 2017, according to the government's own land survey and land audit, there were 181,000 farms, and that's what you're talking about, land, farms. 181,000 farms. Only 53% of those farms were owned by white farm owners. Only 53%. So there you go. 95,673 of the farms were owned by whites, or 53%. 22% were owned by black South Africans, 40,500. 12% by colored South Africans, 22,000. And 15,000 farms were owned by Indians, 9%, which is wildly larger than their 1% of the population. 181,000, 95,000 farms. Now, we're not arguing about the hectareage or acreage in under cultivation or owned on farms. That's a different argument. But all the land owned by whites, that's just horse manure. And now let's take that figure, 95,000 whites, okay? 95,000 whites divided by 4.8 million people, divided by 4,800,000 equals 0.01. Less than 2% of white South Africans own farmland. Less than 2% of whites. Not 2% of the population, 2% of whites. So that's just nonsense, Vuyani. Your facts are incorrect. That was 7 years ago. In the meantime, a lot of people have sold their farms and moved on or given up their farming. And there have been a number of black individuals in South Africa who've acquired farmland since then. So it just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. You can come in here and make a claim, and maybe you mean well, and maybe you actually believe that. But that's because you believe propaganda and lies perpetrated by the media, by social media, and by the ANC. These are the facts. This is the government's own data, not my data. I didn't make it up. Trump had well-defined policies. Americans had the experience of 4 years of destructive nihilism under Biden. Yep, that's why Trump won. And he united people. The mere fact the ANC got 40% should give us all hope because that says people are fed up with the ANC. Yes and no, men's conference. Because the DA, which bills itself as the opposition, but it's part of the Government National Unity, part of the coalition, the DA went nowhere. They lost 500,000 votes. In 2019, they had 4,004,000 votes. In 2024, they had 3,500,000 votes. They lost, under John Steenhuisen, 500,000 votes. Margaret Lawton says, any idea what this effect cut funding would have on Southern business trying to do business with the secure funding from the U.S.? It has no effect right now because the money is money given to entities in South Africa. However, if Trump suspends AGOA access today, which is likely, I think, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but I said it's likely, then that will have an impact on South African businesses. Your goods and services exported to the United States will be increased by 2% minimum. Yep, so there you go. All right, so what else we got here? Trump will allow South Africans to migrate legally to the land. I don't know what you're talking about, Tony. Coming to America? That's not going to happen. Miss Katonic, do we really need more squatter camps? No, we don't need more squatter camps. No one does. Majority of young people want things for free. That is what the ANC has instilled in their minds because they educated with 33% pass rate. It's 30% in three subjects and 40% in your language first choice. Kim Johnson, my uncle's purchased the farm in Chinoy in the 1990s. The farm was invaded and stolen in 2000s. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Kim. You're talking about in Zimbabwe, right? Exactly. And that's the lie. And people get away with the lie because they're racist and bigots. Oh, the whites stole the land. Oh, the whites. Well, you're just a racist bigot making such a stupid, unfounded comment if you say something like that. Your uncle bought a farm with the consent of Mugabe, and then the land was stolen from him. Yep. Vuyanga says, look at house fires in South Africa. You will find only black people in their small one-room shacks, more than 1,000 shacks burned down. No, you make a good point there, Vuyanga, but that's because people foolishly build informal settlements next to each other and occupy land and then demand services. It's like what's going on in Shisheho. We have nowhere to live. I'm sorry? Did you just pop out of the womb right now as a fully grown adult? Where have you been living up until now? You live somewhere. You may not have been ideal, but you had an abode. And now you come here and occupy land illegally and build shacks here without proper sewage, without electricity, without roads, without infrastructure. And then you demand that it be given to you by taxpayers? The arrogance is unbelievable, the cheek. People building these shacks, and I'm tired of hearing this nonsense about, well, people have no option. Quit having babies. No one. Look, I saw this woman who's talking about, she's paying $1,500 a month for transport. She works 5 days a week. She's exhausted. She doesn't have the money. She's going in debt. I empathize with her. But then what's the rest of the story? Well, the father of my child is dead, not her husband, the father of her child, and the father of her second child. Oh, so you're knocking boots with multiple men. Hello. You can't support the first child. Why are you producing a second child? No empathy for that. None. Yeah, they were sleeping somewhere. I mean, before I went to university, I was sleeping on the farm. For a while in a barn because there was no house. It got burned down. Speaking of house fires, speaking of house fires, Vignani, the barn was burned. The house was burned down. I had to live in a barn for a while because we didn't have a house. We had a trailer and we took a dairy barn. And I turned it into a place to live. Yeah, so I lived in a barn for a while. That was real special. Actually, I didn't mind it. It wasn't that bad. I really love lying down on straw in the summertime. It's just lovely. It's nice. And then I went to university. I was living in the dormitory, which I paid for. And then from there, I enlisted in the Army. But before I enlisted in the Army, I went off to Maryland and I lived with my uncle for a few months. So I was living somewhere. It wasn't my abode. It wasn't my home. None of those places I owned. Never owned my own home until I bought a home in 1995. 1995? I was very much an adult by that point. People are living somewhere. So this nonsense about we have no land, we have to take the land, that's horseshit. You're coming from somewhere. All the people moving into Cape Flats, into Khayelitsha, and to Monenberg and places like that are coming from somewhere. They didn't magically appear. Funny thing about BE, the government claims it's to improve quality. No, the opposite's happening. The Rand will tank today when the market's open. Well, the market should be open now. Let's take a look and see if I still have that link for the Rand. Let me see if I've got that. Where was that at? It must have been in this window here. I got too many things open here. Sorry, folks. No, it's not showing up there. Oh, come on. Did I actually close it? That'd be a bummer if I closed it. Maybe it's in this window here. Oh, there it is. Got it. Okay, let me see. Let me reload it. No, it doesn't have any updates. Still 18.65. Yeah, whenever the market's open. Well, it's after 9 in South Africa. So when your markets open up, I mean, I'm sure that's going to have an impact there. Anyway, all right. So where were we at there? Squatter camp should have been illegal. We have prisoners that shouldn't be voting. Yeah, why are prisoners allowed to vote? You broke the law. You broke the social covenant. You don't have the right to vote political leaders. Evie says, are there any stats on how much of these informal settlements are actually occupied by legal side? Evie, a lot of them are South Africans. They're South Africans. I mean, look, there aren't people coming from Zimbabwe to go live outside squatter camps at Port Elizabeth for the most part. Since no other existing party can challenge the ANC currently, what should people do to fight within the existing parties, or is there still a new party that can capture the masses? Well, it depends on your perspective. The MK party is capturing a lot of attention, but it's such a poorly run party and corrupt, it's a problem. Spot on this morning, Chris, says Christoph von Royen. Well, thank you. Kieran, jumping ahead here. Boy, every time I get caught up, people just keep chatting, which is awesome. Okay, Kieran says the problem is black people get paid for each child they have. That's why the population grows so fast. What evidence do you have of that? Is there a table that shows that if you have one child, you get this much money? If you have a second child, you get that much money? I'm not aware of that. If someone's got that information, please let me know. Ben Harris, thank you for becoming a member. Thank you for your support. Okay. BE shuts out South Africans from jobs. Land is taken without compensation. Oppression is worse, and Trump is right to act. Okay. Shalom Hartenbos says people need to understand governments are mostly in power for power. Exactly. Warren Fundameva, Don. We have land, our kings and chiefs they gave us. White people took it, and now our eyes are up. Oh, dear God. Oh, dear God. So, who gave it to your chiefs and kings? Vunyani? Since your people only arrived in South Africa 1,600 years ago, roughly, crossing the Zambezi first, then the Limpopo. Before that, your people weren't in South Africa. So, for the past 49,400 years, the land was occupied by the San and the Khoi later. So who gave it to your kings and chiefs? How did they acquire it? You want to tell me how that happened, Bunyani? I thought you were being serious here, but now you're just being silly. I was trying to, entertain your comments, but that's just silly. Your eyes are open. Your eyes aren't open. We have guns and pride now. We were wrong. You have guns and pride now? You don't have guns and pride now. You had guns at Rourke's Drift and got your hat handed to you. You got your asses spanked by a tiny little army of wounded people fighting from behind meal bags, whipping your ass. Yeah, you won Isanawana, but that's about it. Blood River. Few hundred people behind wagons spanked the Zulu army. By the way, you had guns at Isandlwana. Yep. Wait, silly comments. Silly comments. Tottenham says bachelors have unlimited time. Really? How do you know that? Are you a bachelor? Success comes from meritocracy. It does. That's what Trump's trying to establish here. Who would replace Ramaphosa in the ANC? Gernot Sinhauser, maybe Kolisi. Velenkosini Glabisa is the best candidate to be the president of South Africa. Glabisa, the head of the Inkatha Freedom Party, should have been your president. Warren says ANC does give people stuff, not just empty promises. Yeah, I know, T-shirts and three-piece, KFC three-piece, streetwise. Have you ever read up on Boer history like the good Phobos, you don't know much about me. You're obviously a new person to the channel. Yeah, I'm very familiar with it. Why do you think I have an interest in South Africa? So, here we go. So, let's bring this up. So you're asking a question. It's a fair question to ask, but I mean, I guess because you just don't know about me. So, hang on. Hello, folks. This is Chris in KwaZulu-Natal in South Africa at the site of a momentous battle that took place here on the 16th of December, 1838. As the Voortrekkers, a group of the descendants of the original European settlers in the Western Cape, the Dutch, the French Huguenots, and the Germans who came later, along with some others, migrated up away from what was then the Cape Colony into the Orange Free State, over the Drakensberg Mountains, down here into KwaZulu-Natal, where they ran into conflict with the Zulu who happened to occupy this area. After a number of events that took place, which takes a little getting into, we're not going to cover that here right now, King Dingani had sent his troops out to meet a Voortrekker army that had assembled here. They came here on the Kombe River, subsequently known as Blood River, as a consequence of this battle. 464 Trek Boers fought at least 16,000. 20 or 30,000 probably. Thank you for the link, Andre, but it doesn't show up because you don't have a mod. So it's out there. I'll go look it up. So you're saying that you get paid more. What is it, 100 Rand or 200 Rand? If someone has a child, they have an extra 200 Rand a month, they're brain dead. How much coffee you drink and you stay up this late? None, Tyler. When are you coming back for South African tour? I'm trying to do it soon. I wish I knew about your channel last time we were here. It's okay, Tyler. I'll be back. Frustrating part about South Africa is being trailed for something most of us know, or try. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, but you had a chance to stop it. If people had listened to me and gone out and voted in 2021 in municipal elections and elected parties that weren't the ANC and proved that municipalities could be run efficiently, effectively, and successfully by giving parties 51% or a coalition that's not ANC, then, we would have seen a different outcome in the last election. If people had shown up in more than 31% and voted for parties that weren't the ANC, MK, and EFF, then you wouldn't be in this boat. But you all refused to vote for the DA. You refused to vote for the Freedom Front Plus. You refused to vote for the other parties. I don't know what to tell you. Anyway. Exactly. Kings and chiefs never gave any land. See, that's nonsense because the land was held in trust by chiefs. It was never given to anybody. They allowed people to use it. And there you go, Charles. They're allowed to live on it. You get a grant for every child you have. Also, a lot of illegal make babies here so they can get citizenship. Well, it's just like America. Anchor babies. Greetings. Elaborate on expropriation bills. Municipality charges rates and they value properties. One cannot have two laws on property. Don't understand what you're saying. Expropriation is allowed for property. It could be land. It could be your retirement account. And the government doesn't have to justify it. They just take it and say it's in the public interest. And they don't have to pay you anything. So I'm not sure what you're getting at. Sorry for missing. I'm trying to answer it as best I can, but I don't understand your question. Thanks for making this known to the world. We need all the help we can get to let everyone know what is happening. I hope this is a turning point. I hope it is too. Incognito Davis, Justin Bernard. IMF sounds a lot. Oh, does it? IMF? Let's see. IMF. Okay, what did they say? IMF, South Africa, news. I see nothing here. Nothing here. Is it on their website? Anyway. They get 500 per child. 500 rand to have a child. It costs more to have the child. 530 rand divided by 19. That's $28. You're going to have a child that you make $28 a month. That's pretty sad. Okay. I don't see that. Where do you find the IMF? Is it on Twitter? When most freedoms and rights... by the way, I wasn't questioning. I was asking for the link. Hey, Kieran, thank you for that. In 1900, South Africa had 5 million people. Right now, it's 63 million people. In 1910, South Africa had 5 million people, and 1 million of them were white. 3 million were black. Do what the USA did. People at grassroots level started taking over, moving corrupt people. Exactly. That's what's happened here. That's what's happened here. We did it at the local level. Vunyani says, DA is demonic. They throw us in a village country out of sight as we don't have the right to be seeing in our own country, as they have huge land, huge houses we don't hate. I have no idea what you're saying, Vunyani. I appreciate that English is not your first language, so I'm some leeway here. But the DA is demonic. They threw us in a village. Who threw you in a village? The Democratic Alliance? Why didn't you go to the police? And where did they throw you in a village? The DA only rules in one province, and they barely control municipalities. So where did they throw you in a village? Out of sight, as we don't have the right. Or are you trying to claim that the DA is a national party? Are you confusing the Democratic Alliance with a national party? That happens a lot with South Africans. Shout out to the American taxpayers who have paid for all the foreign aid. America has massive debt, partly because of aid. That's true, David McFarland. ANC distribute condoms like candy at local clinics for no reason. Exactly. We've been paying for condoms. Why aren't they working? All right. Well, I did warn you. You just don't listen, do you? I'm going to have to block you soon, Tottenham, from just participating in the channel. Ancestors came as a POW in the 40s. Were you Italian? Peter says, wouldn't an Inkatha Freedom Party government spark tribalism? I don't think so. I think that whole story about Zulu and Xhosa is overplayed. Last time I missed you, I kind of started watching when you were here. A little time for planning my side. Hope I'm lucky next time. You mean for the meet and greets? Meet and greets. Okay. And Phobos like that. Yeah. So, yeah, no, it's on my channel. Look it up. Look up Blood River. You got plenty of videos to look at here. Do a search. You'll find all kinds of content. They keep having these children so they can say ANC is the best. It was best tact for ANC to remain in power. Funny how shacks are built next to major roads, highways. Look what it looks like. Yep. How does he know our politics and laws better than us? Because I'm a smart guy. Because, yeah, that's the thing. People keep coming here and they're like, of course I know what I'm talking about. I ain't bullshitting here. I also know the politics and laws of my country. Why do you think I ran for the legislature? Because I'm engaged, because I care, because it matters. That's why. I earned a living and I learned all this stuff. And I'm still learning each and every day, reading all the time. These books back here aren't decorations, and that's just a handful. I have thousands of books that I've acquired over the years, and yeah, there you go. And I've written my own too, so yep. Okay, so I'm gonna look. Vianney's actually comical here, so I'm gonna leave that on there. Now he stopped spamming. Okay, you're spamming again. Okay, quit being a dickhead. I didn't see you're spamming again. So, I gave you a pass the first time, and now you've done it twice. So this time you didn't give me 6, you gave me 2. Once, Vianney, you're getting all the attention. Are you getting an erection? You're getting all the attention you're asking for here, okay? So Vianney, Jonathan Drake, welcome for your subscription there. Vianney says that ANC will rule South Africa. Well, it does rule South Africa. So thank you for the obvious, Captain Obvious. For the people USA didn't help during apartheid, that's horseshit. That's a total lie, total fiction. Americans did help South Africa. Americans put sanctions in place, which was a minor contributing factor to the end of apartheid. Yeah, so you don't know what you're talking about. That's just more propaganda from, say we get it from both sides. Well, you didn't help the National Party. You didn't help the Liberation Struggle. That's fucking horseshit. We help both sides in more ways than one. So stop with the nonsense. And it's not our place to help. Fuck off. My fuck Marlies. Give me a freaking break. It's not our responsibility to take care of South Africa. Missing the whole point here. You want liberation, it's on you. You want apartheid rule, it's on you. It's not us. We got our own problems. Now people have their eyes open. Yeah, okay. Vuliani, you're going to just get deleted here real soon. That's the last time. I will not tolerate nonsense. I've had enough of it. We're doing it for enjoying it. Yeah, he's a troll. Okay. So Tanya's back. Hey, Tanya, how you doing there? Do you think the South Africa will financially collapse before the ANC lets their power go? Well, South Africa was already financially collapsed. If it hadn't been for the money pouring in from people giving money to South Africa, it would have collapsed a long time ago during COVID. 50,000 black millionaires in the government. How is that possible? I don't know if there's 50,000 millionaires. There are plenty of them, but I don't know. And Goat Andrew, we're talking about Rand millionaires, which is nothing. Rand millionaires is somebody with $100,000, $200,000. Missed workers due for pension cannot access the money that was deducted from salaries and not paid. And thank you, Linda Mahamba. Thank you for joining the program. Let me go check on something here real quick. So we're over 27,000 now. That's pretty cool. Thank you for that. 27,000. Okay, so we voted take a hike. No one owes these people. They don't understand the concept of family wealth, working hard for something, and then giving it to your next generation. Yeah, entitled. It's the same thing here in America. Oh, generational wealth. It's terrible. No, it's not. Why is it terrible? If you earn it legitimately, it's yours. Municipal workers are due for pension cannot access the money that was deducted from salaries. I don't know what's going on with the pension there, Tanya. Thank you for sharing that. Could this possibly be the first delayed steps before the 2 trillion rand bill? No minority South African step. I don't know what you're talking about, the 2 trillion rand bill. What's that? Greetings. How can there be a double barrel? You have municipality valuation. You're asking the question, is that again? Or I didn't understand it from before. During the 90s, Booth Lazy and IFP made it. Yeah, no, I'm very familiar with it, Peter Sayers. And in fact, one of my future guests coming on, Anthea Jeffrey, Dr. Anthea Jeffrey, becoming the program, she wrote about that, the People's War. And I'll have her on the program here probably by the end of the month if things go well. She's busy right now. So, yeah, I'm very familiar with that. But that was 30 years ago. And that doesn't have to be the problem today. That doesn't mean it won't be. All right, what else we got there? Didn't USA and UK help SADF in the border war? Yes, they did. And they also imposed sanctions on apartheid South Africa. So, schizophrenic foreign policy. Help both sides. Well, Chris, you're still going. It's been a late night. It's nothing. I mean, with all the crap going on with Trump's, all the stuff he's been doing, and with the expropriation nonsense and all the things happening in South Africa, I have been up till 3 a.m. most nights in the past 2 weeks. And get a cat nap here and there. So, but this is important. It needs to be talked about. People are fleshing out things. We're hearing things that that need to be talked about here. I'm being patient with people who are acting a little silly here, but that's for the sake of an argument. So, the propaganda is very effective in an uneducated brain. Well, what's surprising, Cornelius, is that propaganda works on educated people too, or at least people think they're educated. The ability to reason, the ability to think cogently doesn't come with degrees. It comes with a brain. If the ANC takes a Boer's farm, we will see something. Oh, yeah. No. We saw that. Let me find that real quick. Let me see. Dr. Peter Groenewald. Do I have that here somewhere? I had it. What's going on? Somebody just subscribed. Thank you. Saki Fatalaki. Saki Fatalaki. Thank you for subscribing. I'm just trying to find where this is at. It's in my download folder. And let me see if I've got PE. If I named it. This is the problem with downloading things and not naming them. Nope, that's not going to do it. So let me see. I had a somewhere here I had saved this. And it was Dr. Peter Groenewald. I'm trying to see if I can find that really quickly. If I can. There's a lot of marks. I did that video. It's further back. Boy, I do so much production. Stuff really piles up here. J.P. Smith. It's before that. There's Ramaphosa. Yeah, this guy's just an arrogant asshat. Here he is at the UN. Okay. So let me, this is Sir Ramaphosa at the UN a few years ago. How arrogantly he talks and condescendingly talks to Trump.
President Trump, as a leader of an important country like the United States, it is important for you not to disrespect or show any disrespect to any country in the world. We want the United States to engage with the world, with other countries, with due regard, with respect, particularly Africa. Africa is the origins of humanity, and you must therefore respect your origins. President
So
Trump's
Cyril Ramaphosa
origins-
just admitted that we're all Africans. Every time I make that point that we, if you believe in evolution, we all come from Africa. We're all entitled to Africa. And so white South Africans, of course, they've simply returned home. Idiots like Cyril Ramaphosa claim that you're not African, and he calls African for black people. Oh, is there something growing in my neck? It's just my penguin. Just my penguin. He's a jackass. My penguin's a jackass. Anyway. So Cyril Ramaphosa admitted that that we're all Africans. You know, thank you for that. Also, very condescending, telling Trump that he must respect Africa. Well, screw you, foot sec. The Holy Bible said every man will go and look for land and dominate others, wanting to be kings and queens for unless people are powerful than it. Vuyani, I'm not sure where we're going with that. If you're using the Bible as your guide stone, that's your prerogative. I don't. I do believe in Judeo-Christian ideals, but I don't use the Bible for law. I don't use the Quran for law. I don't use the Talmud for law or the Torah. I use the laws in our Constitution, the ones that flow from that. Struggled 3 years ago with my pension. I am in early retirement, basically. Yeah, no, I know, Charles, that sucked. Psalms 37, says Dave. Okay. Chris, how likely is this civil war breakout in South Africa? Nixters, I don't think that's coming. We had a civil war. We had an insurrection anyway in July 2021. ANC internally had a fight amongst itself, and that led ultimately to the formation of MK later on. All the pictures from the South African concentration camps, it makes nobody cry. What concentration camps? Okay, Bernard, thanks for great. You're welcome. Cheers. Origin of humanity. Napoleon Dynamite. I'm saying if you believe in evolution, then Cyril admitted we're all from Africa. So take it for what you want. As a newcomer to your channel, what drew you towards South African political happenings? Mookster, okay, fair question. I'll get to that in a second. Is that a South Park avatar that you got on there? Over 50,000. Oh, it's in a news article. Where was the news article according to this so I can find that? That'd be interesting to learn. Impressive knowledge, South Africa. Chris discovered you on Aleka Rugby podcast. Good one. Thank you, Magnus. Appreciate that. So, Mookster, I'll get to you in just a second. Let me just get a little further down here so I'm not too far behind. What do you think about the law they slipped through silent between the Expropriation and Load Shedding Preservation Development Agricultural Land Act? I didn't see that one. I'll have to look that one up. Thank you for that. 20 yards, we have a cheap method of communicate with grassroots folk. Nothing will change. Slander sexual. What's this? I don't know what's going on there. Mike Weston says, I find that us South Africans love to talk with no action. That's what I'm telling you. Now's the time for action. It's time to galvanize, folks. It is time to galvanize. It is. It really is. It is time to galvanize.
Back. If you think about it, so many people do be cool and look smarter. Don't hold back.
It is time to galvanize, South Africa. You need to get off your bums and get out there and do something about it. Okay, does that make me an African American? I guess maybe it does, Tyler. There is a Rama poker on your shoulder. Yeah, that was my jackass. That's my jackass penguin. I got him at Boulders. I love it. He smells bad though. You know, these jackass penguins, really nasty, man. Nasty, nasty, nasty. South African flag around his neck and turned into a Palestinian terror flag. Okay. Debbie says, my dad had a chicken farm outside of in Zimbabwe. Still remember the guy came to take it back for the people. It was never was, and the people around it lost a food source. Exactly, Debbie. I'm sorry to hear that. Another refugee from Zimbabwe, Debbie. Yep. Major props and respect. In the clip, Christiana, I'm a poor smile. Oh, yeah. Did you see that? Yeah, she's such an ass. Oh, man, such an ass. Yes. Yes, it is an ass, a jackass. President Trump was sworn in the Holy Bible. Okay. All right, so there you go. Trump should sanction all ANC party members. I don't disagree with that. That could be coming too. Okay, so my interest in South Africa, for those who don't know, 450 people currently here, 469 likes. Can we get to 500 likes? That'd be awesome. I'd be really, really happy with that, folks, because I've been up till
That was easy.
3 a.m. Been working on this for a while, and I'll be back later in the day. It'll be early evening, South African time, 6 p.m. I'll be covering this again, and we'll chat about this. But okay, so my interest in South Africa. I'll try to shorten the story up because it's a long one. In the 70s, I followed Rhodesia, Mozambique, Angola. I read James Stockdale's book about the CIA and supporting Holden Roberto and the FNLA, and I was fascinated. I used to read Soldier's Fortune magazine, and I became enamored with what was going on in Africa. It was fascinating. So I started following that. And then I went to university at the age of 17. I left after a year. I joined the Army, and my interest in Africa continued. But when I was in university, I was introduced to rugby in the first few weeks I was there. And I fell in love with rugby, but there was no rugby to watch. And because there was nothing on TV, we didn't have it. We just had club rugby in America, and like at university. So as a historian, I started looking around, and I realized that South Africa was a big rugby nation. I was interested in Africa. So the only country really in Africa that had a significant presence in rugby, although Rhodesia had one too. But I became a Springbok fan. And then shortly after that, became a Western Province fan because they won the most titles in the Currie Cup, the domestic competition. Then in the mid-'80s, I started teaching myself Afrikaans. And while I was in the Army, I became more interested in Africa and followed what was going on in Africa. My interest in Africa was initially South Africa, and then the frontline states in Southern Africa. And eventually, when I learned Swahili, when I went back to university, East Africa became part of my interest. And I did research on the Schutztruppe and German Tanganyika and so on and so forth. And then eventually I wound up being stationed in North Africa, and then I wound up in West Africa. So West Africa was the least interesting part to me. But I read James Michener's book, The Covenant, in high school. And historical fiction about South Africa, about the Gelofte Dag. And the Day of the Vow, and that just kind of got me into South Africa, and I went from there. And so I self-taught myself to read and understand Afrikaans. Maar ek praat nie Afrikaans nie. It just kind of grew from there. I decided in 1984 that I wanted to be a foreign area officer in the Army, which is not an easy thing to do. And it's not easy to be successful as an African foreign area officer because it's very few positions. The Army has 72,000 commissioned officers, and there are just 18 colonels. And when I started doing, there were just 12. So out of 72,000 officers, only 12 did what I ultimately became, a colonel for Sub-Saharan Africa. It was not easy. And I'm an unusual colonel in that I'm not just a Sub-Saharan African specialist, but I've also been stationed in North Africa as well, in the Maghreb. That's the short version. And I left the Army in October 2019, after 36 and a half years of military service, 34 in active duty. Started as a private, served as a sergeant, got out, went to university, served in the reserve and the National Guard, came back in as a lieutenant, advanced to the rank of colonel, which is the highest rank I could possibly go. And there are no general officer positions. So there's that. That's what I did. So yeah, I wonder how many U.S. farmers have agri interests in South Africa. I don't think too many. Good to see you here. South Africans tend to be, what's that? Elton O'Neill, thank you for your subscription. Tend to be complacent with bad behavior. It's a long way to, I have no idea what that is. Off to the gym. I'll catch you next time. My reference for my point was watching on my device during my morning routine. No, you won't find my books, Chuma. Before you run off, you won't find it because they're not widely available. So here they are. Yeah, you're not going to find it. This will cost you $100. It's not cheap. Expanding U.S. Military Command in Africa, if you're still there. That's from Stellenbosch University. I'm published in there. And Building Partner Capacity in Africa, Keys to Success. This is one of the Army War College. I don't know that it's in print any longer. So I read a short excerpt of this, which I do occasionally. Where the hell are the glasses at? There we go. It's 3 a.m., so I need the reading glasses. Okay, so let's see if I've got my bookmarker in here still, and I'll read from my chapter, just to explain to you what this is a little bit about there. So there we go. What's this? Look at that. So this is from 1968, and there I am. That's me crouching down there, and that's my little sister who's an infant, and that's my aunt who died. She was just 5 or 6 years older than me. She died. She died from HIV in the early 1980s. She was doing drugs. Yep. She had a kid with a black guy, and that girl is still alive today. So interesting. Anyway, I came across her not too long ago, so let me see. Let me find my chapter here, and I'll just read a little bit from it. So page 46. It was almost there. Okay, so 46. All right, so the genesis and origins of U.S. Africa Command. William Wyatt. Okay, so on February 6th of February 2007, the Bush administration announced its intention to create a new unified combatant command, the United States Africa Command, or AFRICOM. The U.S. Africa Command, colloquially known as AFRICOM, officially appeared on the global stage in October 2007. Prior to that date, there had never been a command specifically assigned responsibility for all of Africa. Rather, other commands shared responsibility, effectively creating gaps and necessitating coordination between separate commands. The new combatant command had a troubled birth stemming from several false impressions, a few missteps, and some naivete within the U.S. Department of Defense. Several valid questions have arisen relating to the creation and formation of AFRICOM. What is AFRICOM? How did it come about? Why did the U.S. government create it? Is it different from other combatant commands, and if so, how? Now over a decade old, has the command evolved into what its proponents or detractors predicted? Has the presence of AFRICOM had any positive impact on African countries or African security? These are but a few of the many legitimate questions Africans and Western observers have asked about the public announcement of the command in 2007. The Bush administration had legitimate reasons for creating the command. Nonetheless, AFRICOM had to overcome skepticism, resistance, even open hostility to its creation. While the questions and concerns that many Africans and Americans raised about the new command at the time were valid, a decade plus of experience now provides us the opportunity to reflect on the concerns by reviewing AFRICOM's actions and the impact of its existence. This chapter reviews and addresses the origins of the command, the reasons for its creation, AFRICOM's actions, and offers an assessment of the command. Anyway, so you're not going to be able to find those unless you get a hold of Stellenbosch. Anyway, so yeah, there you go. That's just a little sampling there. But thank you for being here. I appreciate it. The only way for South Africa to be strong will be is for Mozambique, Namibia, and Mozambique, of course, or it needs to be strong. But thank you, Chuma, for being here. It's time to go back to the law of the land. Okay. Salute Scouts were the hardest light infantry ever. Salute Scouts, I wouldn't call them light infantry. I'd call them more like special forces, the way they behaved. Wonder how many US, okay, I already like that. How many South Africans, what the majority of the world think about South? Most of the world doesn't care about South Africa. Most of the world doesn't care, man, at all. Doesn't care. Concentration camps. Oh, you're talking about the Anglo-Boer War concentration camps. Not forgotten about. I've got photographs. I've been to the memorials in Bloemfontein and on the way to Bloemfontein. Why is that not here? Hang on a second. How is that not here? Sorry, folks. I'm just trying to get something here real quick. All right, so yeah, just had to deal with that. U.S. troops aren't coming to South Africa. Most of the world doesn't care what South Africans. They don't really pay attention. China, Japan, what's this? Indians, Somalia, North Korea, Koreans, only West. You will find mix because I have no idea what you're saying, Vunyani. All right. My dad fought in the Bush War in Rhodesia. He saw what civil war was with his own eyes. Vunyani's just trolling. Ignore him. So I've just deleted that racist piece of feces, Tottenham. So yeah, acting like a clown. I don't know what's with these people. Okay. All right, folks, 2.5 hours. Wow, we've been at this for a while, haven't we? 500 likes. I got it. 400 people currently here. We dropped from our peak, though. We were at a peak audience of 583 here, so demographics don't lie. They can hold 55 or 65% of the vote, but if they don't vote, their vote is diminished, and that's what's going on. So there you go. All right, planning to visit in-laws in Tennessee in March, and the Rand dollar exchange is making the holiday expensive. Yes, that'll happen, unfortunately. Yeah, it's going to happen. Let me see, is there any change in this, if it's been updated? Nope, no change there. I was looking to see if we got an update on that. Chuma says, I've noted the title's not in Stellenbosch often, but when I'm looking around, been subscribed and watching for a while, never contributed. Well, thank you, Chuma. Thank you for subscribing. The titles, noted the titles not in Stellenbosch. Okay. I don't understand what you mean by titles. I'm sorry, I don't follow that. But thank you for being a viewer for some time. I appreciate it. Thanks. We like a diverse audience here, so cool beans. Okay, cool beans. That's going to do it, folks. It's almost 3 a.m. Appreciate it. Tokoloshi, seems like international eyes are turning slowly in this mess. They are. And my friend the Jackass wishes you all well. Have a good night, folks. I'm going to go get a nap for a couple hours. And, book titles. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha, Chuma. Sorry, I didn't know what the titles. Got it. That's published by Rutledge, I think. Stellenbosch University. You can probably find it in their library. So there you go. The other one, the Army War College, I have the electrons for it. I have to find them somewhere. People ask for it. So, I mean, because you can't find the Army War College changed their domain from a .mil to a .edu because it's an educational institution. It's a master's degree granting program. So they got approval from the Chief of Staff of the Army to apply for an EDU. They did that after I left the War College, and they refigured everything and rejiggered it all. And a lot of stuff didn't get, Rick Ziggy, thank you for subscribing. A lot of the documents and books that they published digitally didn't get migrated. So maybe they have it now. But you can search. You can probably find online somewhere. Some people are selling that. It's kind of annoying, that book, but thank you. Hopefully you find that. Was that excerpt from about justification? No, it wasn't. It was about military presence in Africa. Yeah, hang on a second. It was explaining the expanding U.S. military command in Africa, elites, networks, and grand strategy. And I was the only American author in here. Or no, I was one of two. There was two. Sorry. Ambassador Michael Battle also wrote a chapter in there. We're the only Americans contributed to it. So Andre Oberholtz, so thank you for subscribing. Yeah, no, it wasn't justifying it. I was just explaining why it existed. That excerpt included the justification why the U.S. Department of Defense and the Bush administration justified having the African Command, and it was long overdue. It was smart in so many reasons. There's no time to talk about that now, but we'll talk about it another time. You guys, thanks a lot for being here. Appreciate. Whoa, we just lost 100 people because I said I was going to leave. USAID using your tax dollars funded bioweapon research, including COVID-19, to kill millions of people. No, the USA did not use my money to fund that. The Department of State did that. The Centers for Disease Control did that, not the USAID. Commanding officer of the AWE, I don't agree with what they did, but the way things are going now. Wow, okay. Wow, that's interesting. All right, guys, thanks a lot for being here, and thanks to those who participated and to the self-pleasuring hate wankers who were being trolls. Find something else to do with your life. It's really sad. And buy a donkey. Buy a donkey. Or a horse, Hey, thanks, everybody. Have a good day. Be sure to hit that like button, and thanks for being here. Cheers, and appreciate it. I'm going to get some sleep time now. Bye-bye.